Devil, my friend. Fashion. Things to wear. Possibly faces covered, but more importantly, covering up the bodies. Merch. We have that now. We are very, very excited to announce that Vampire and the Devil have partnered with our friends at Rockin' Horror Apparel. They are now taking care of the actual merch, the exclusive merch for the Vampire and Devil podcast, modeled by our very sexy devil right here.
Oh, yeah.
But we have all kinds of goodies to share with you.
Got the hoodies. We got some shirts. We got some tanks coming up. We got some booty shorts. We got all the stuff you want to wear from the Vampire and Devil podcast, thanks to Rockin' Horror.
Horns up. Fangs out. Devil, my friend, I have a question for you, or maybe a curiosity for you. Is there anything that you would potentially do? Bad ways, good ways, sin and skinful ways to meet Glenn Danzig or to be involved in a project? Because somebody that we know apparently was very passionate about being involved in something like that. So the question I have for you, is there anything risque that you might do to be involved in a Glenn Danzig project as we break down New Jersey HorrorCon?
I mean, maybe cry out, mother. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, like you said, who? I mean, whether or not you're a huge Glenn Danzig fan or not, you got to understand that this guy is basically a musical icon of
Yeah.
our generation, as far as the weirdos, the misfits. I mean, no pun intended, misfits of the world.
Right.
Basically, that this guy is like the king of all that kind of stuff. So, you know, who wouldn't do naughty things to be a part of those movies? And yes, as we're talking about this, you might be wondering who we're talking about, and that's something you're gonna have to find out. We're gonna spoil it anyway for you. But we're talking about New Jersey HorrorCon and meeting some of the people that we talked to. And this one was talking about Caroline Williams, giving us a little
Yep.
insight of working on her Glenn Danzig movie that you were so upfront of bringing her to sign.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And of course, all the Fangs and Infernos knows very well that when it comes to anybody that we meet or like autograph wise, things like that, unless there's something very specific that like I have to get signed because it's of the more value, which in this case for her it was, it's always going to be the vampire movie. It's always going to be the vampire movie or the vampire movies that I'm always going to want to get signed first. But my love of Glenn Danzig as a fan, my love of Glenn Danzig just in general with the stuff that he does, or whether they're good or bad, is, just kind of going to take a lot of precedent when it comes to that. So, I'll go into a little bit more detail when it came to that, but it does revolve around Danzig's movie Veronica. And with the enthusiasm of that person, kind of made me feel a little bit like, damn, maybe my DVD wasn't good enough. Maybe I really should have brought that poster. So it is kind of like it's rattling around in my brain that if said person does return, to a con that we do, because they weren't expensive, that maybe I'll circle back around one more time and be like, you know what? They were so stoked about Veronica the movie. Why not get them just right up there on Veronica the poster? So I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But New Jersey HorrorCon there, my dearest devil, a fan favorite of ours. To a certain degree, a partnership as well, without any kind of full on official capacity. But Ryan and New Jersey HorrorCon have been very good to us, always inviting us out. They take care of us. They pretty much let us just run roughshod all over the place, do whatever interviews we can get, any interviews that we want. But this was a cool one, man. I mean, their main, like we talked about in the preview, their main reunion was the Goosebumps reunion, but they had a lot of very, very cool people there. They had Tara Reid there, and that was really, really cool. They had Thomas Ian Nichols there, who Mrs. Vamp was really excited about because he was in the Halloween franchise, so she could add a signature to her poster. But also considering that they were boyfriend, girlfriend in American Pie, that was very cool. We got to see our man, our brother Nick Greystone, who was there, of course, because he is a he is a sponsor, a consistent sponsor of New Jersey HorrorCon, as is my brethren and our good friend, Lord Damien. So it was always great to see him as well. But it was a good one, man. It was a good time. A little bit of a tough sell that weekend, if I'm just being brutally honest off the bat, which at the same time, just like, concerts can happen, cons are the same way. Things come up, conflicts happen, cancellations happen. But I really kind of felt for Ryan and the New Jersey HorrorCon team, man, because they really took it on the chin because they had like six cancellation and like four of them were like they were pretty heavy hitters because a couple of them were rarities.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about it. We've talked about it multiple times, and when we're talking about these cons, and I get it. I mean, even myself, there were three. I mean, other than meeting some of these celebrities and getting some interviews and things like that, as far as the personal side of it, for me or Miss Devils stuff like that, there was three people that we wanted to meet, that we needed to meet and get signatures, and unfortunately, two out of the three canceled. And then, like I said, that's the first thing we've always talked about. The main thing is never go to a con just wanting to meet one person. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's gonna happen sometimes. You have flight cancellation, which would happen to a lot of the people on that one. There was, at the time New Jersey was going around, there was a little bit of bad weather on the West Coast, and some flights were getting delayed, flights were getting canceled. Sometimes that happens. You're the person you want to go meet might become sick,
Mhm.
could fall down the stairs and break a leg or something like that and can't fly, or, granted some of these, I mean, granted with a lot of the cons, most of your older actors and stuff like that, typically maybe not working as much anymore. But when you're getting these young kids, these young guys who are in these, and they're still going to be, and they're going to be making stuff. And obviously, yeah, they want to meet the cons and they want to go to cons, and they go to these cons not only to meet fans and meet other peers, but they do, it is a business, they are going to make money. And granted, the and like I said, saying this is a no discredit to New Jersey Con or any con, they're not going to pay them the kind of money that you can be making it if you're getting called from Hollywood and having to do this movie or doing that movie. So obviously if the obligations come in, and I'm probably pretty sure it's in a contract too when they sign it with these cons, saying like, hey, if we don't plan on canceling, but if something comes through and they're pushing this movie and I need to be there, I'm obligated not to show up, and that happens. And like I said, with this con, I mean, it was a down factor, but it didn't, to me, I still don't think that it ruined anything. I mean, I
No.
know you're gonna have your keyboard warriors that are gonna go and they're gonna talk shit and say bad things about the people who are running this with Ryan or this and blah blah blah. And it's like a lot of that stuff is out of it's all out of their control. It's not
Yeah.
like, do you think that, Ryan or any con wants their big stars to not show up, Yeah, they had Vanessa, Angel, which was one that we were wanting to do, but apparently she had a contract with something with another con and things like
Oh,
that, or
and that was a charity, so
yeah.
she had to do that.
So it's like it goes to it, and like I said, I get it. I mean, yes, I mean I've gone to cons before. I was at one where Dario Argento was supposed to be there, and I didn't get a chance to meet him the good thing that came out of that was when he canceled, they brought in Corey Feldman, which is that first time was the first time I got to meet Corey Feldman. But there's been other ones. I'm a huge Zoe Bell fan, and she was supposed
Yeah.
to be at a con and got canceled. And it's like, I mean, it sucks. I mean, it definitely does suck if you're going there as, for one person. But like I said, you, I mean, you should never go strict. I mean, yeah, you might go there and say, okay, especially if you're going to a big con, let's say it's a huge name person. Let's say you're going to a con and Nicholas Holt's there or somebody huge. Nicholas Cage is there. You know his line's going to be outrageous. So there's a possibility that you're going there for one day, Friday. You may be in line that whole entire day. You
Yeah.
may just spend, so going to a con and possibly spending one day for one person, understandable, but going to a con strictly just for one person and then them unfortunately canceling. I mean, that's the way of the world. Like I said, these people, yes, we idolize these people and we want to meet them and we want to talk about how their movies and how maybe their movies might have affected our lives and things like that. But again, these people are human. I mean, some people get sick, people have family matters, things are happening. You know what I mean? And people get all mad, and it's like, well, you don't know what the situation is. Okay, like, if you're some celebrity and somebody wants to meet you, and let's say your wife's in the hospital, unfortunately, has cancer or dying or doing something is bad, do you expect would you go into a con, or would you want to stay up with your partner in the hospital? You're going to stay with your
Right.
partner. So don't get all pissy and shitty just because a person calls out. Now there are other reasons, and we're not going to go into it. There was one that I'm not gonna name drop because I don't want any kind of big issues. But we heard rumors that there was one that didn't come in because they didn't give them special treatment on the airplanes or something like that. Now, granted, yes, shit like that happens, and you can kind of blow those kind of guys off. But then again, like I said, you can't get mad at people who run these cons or in New Jersey. You can't get mad at Ryan. So it's like I felt bad for them. But then again, I still think they had a really good turnout. I think
Yeah.
a lot of situations came up and some people, but I mean, like I said, even with that hiccup, and this is like, this would be our fourth time, I think, with New Jersey, and then the one time with the PA one. And this was the only time, as far as I've known, is in the New Jersey one that there had been any major hiccups. All cons have the hiccups, but this one
Yeah.
was more of a major one. And like I said, they did what they can do, and there's not anything that I mean, they can't force these celebrities to go. You know what I mean? Yes, they sign contracts, but there's loopholes or NDAs or there's things inside that. But yeah, who cares, man? That's
Exactly.
for that. Let's talk about the enjoying this. I still think I had a good time. I had
Great
fun.
time.
I think
Yeah.
that they had some kick-ass vendors. It was pretty cool. I mean, they always have some really cool vendors that we've seen before, vendors that we've met before, vendors we haven't met, and stuff like that. We got to talk to some more independent film artists, and we talked to a girl named Lydia Mason. She was super
Yeah.
cool.
Very cool.
Talking about her film that she's starting to go out in the Hellgate. And we talked, like I said, we got to talk, like I said, the Goosebumps reunion.
Yeah.
We talked to
That
Amos,
was,
who was
that
also
was
calling.
cool.
He was in, Goosebumps, but he was also in Are You Afraid of the Dark? He was in Billy Madison. I mean, we got to see, John Russo, who, Night of the Living Dead, Return of the
Uh,
Living Dead. We got some more Tromeo and Juliet people that we got. We missed Will at a previous con, but then
Thank
he
you,
brought us
Ryan.
back here. So that was kind of cool. And then, and now we just heard that he's going to be at another con that we're going to be at. So it's like, okay, now we're going to be like the one, we haven't seen this guy in forever. Now all of a sudden, now we're going to get into that. But anyway, yeah, you had that. You had Tiffany Shepis the whole time she was there. Super cool.
How funny was she,
Oh
though?
yeah, she was great, man. That was like, that's what I said. I love that they have these actors and these actresses. They're just so cool. Like I said before with the previous one with Felissa Rose, and then you had people like her. You had people like we got to talk to Lachlan Monroe from White Chicks. Funny as hell. Spoiler a little bit alert of what we talked about, but how cool was it to geek out with the
Yes.
dude from White Chicks and talk about hockey?
Exactly. Like Fangs and Infernos, you guys genuinely don't understand the treat that you guys are into when Devil posts the interview with Lachlan. Like, if you're familiar with his catalog, you know just what a fun character actor he is. Scary Movie, White Chicks, fucking, well, Dracula 2000 for me, but Dead Man on Campus. I
Freddy
mean,
versus Jason.
Freddy vs. Jason. Like, you guys know, even if you don't know Lachlan Monroe, you know Lachlan Monroe. You just don't even realize it. Like, he was so great. So Fangs and Infernos, we definitely keep it out, keep your eyes peeled for when, we put out the interview with Lachlan Monroe. You guys genuinely don't understand the good time that you're in for when it comes to that. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, Devil, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, like, me with Return of the Living Dead. So when they announced John Russo, that was a table I was willing to like run over to. The first stop for me personally, of course, was Tara Reid. And that had more to do with the fact for my pet project, of getting my Crow poster signed. Because while she's not in one of the elite movies. She's in the movie Wicked Prayer with Edward Furlong, who we've met a few times, and he's on my poster as well. It was just another opportunity for me to add to my Crow poster. And that's actually kind of the little funny side note of what you were talking about, where people cancel. Things happen. I was so excited to finally meet Bai Ling earlier this year because I was planning to meet her years ago, like 10 years ago. And she had to cancel due to filming. That was the announcement that came out. But hey, it was worth the wait. And sometimes cool things happen with those kind of situations. Because, like, the poster that's become my new pet project was not a thing I had back then. So now this is being my main thing. So I wouldn't be mad if she's on my DVD or if I had gotten like an 8x10. It's all good. But sometimes a little bit of stroke of good luck happens where now I have this poster that I'm committed to. So it was very cool to get by on that. But anyway, yes, Tara Reid was awesome. Thomas Ian Nichols was fantastic. He was so cool and so courteous to Mrs. Vamp. So he was super duper awesome. But I gotta take a moment, if you don't mind, Devil, to like really express some gratitude and a little bit of like fandom to finally getting to meet Judith Roberts. I'm a big Dead Silence fan. I love that movie so much. And she played Mary Shaw, 90 years old. I don't even know that when you and I get up to, 9,000 years, if we'll even be moving that well. But
Yeah.
like, she was so sweet, so cool. Mrs. Vamp wasn't with us the first day when we met her, but she came over the second day and she was so good to her. But what a sweet lady with this amazing career. I mean, movies like Eraserhead as well. She's done so many cool movies. Shout out to David Lynch and everything, with those movies. But what an absolutely sweet lady. And honestly, even with her little Rolly Walker, Devil, she was in cruise mode, man. When she had somewhere to go, she had to go somewhere. And of course, on a lesser celebrity aspect, but a fun, of course, family aspect. Our good friends and fiends at Catfight Coffee were there, so it's always great to see them. And we got a T-shirt, we got a lunchbox, I got my coffee, but it's always great to see the Catfight Coffee fam.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it was like, like I said, with some of the other things that we were talking to, some of the other interviews and people that we got to meet. I mean, we gotta talk to, to somebody that you don't really get to talk to as much as far as like, like when we did these ones before New Jersey where they've had some of the directors like, or you had like the makeup people and things like that with V Neil and Robert Kurtzman. We got to talk to a stuntman who's maybe a stuntman that most people don't know, but you're gonna know very, very soon because this guy got to play an iconic character in Terrifier 3. We got to talk to Bobby McFarlane. That was cool. He was the
Yes.
stunt double for
For
almost
David.
said almost said Damien, but David, yeah, yeah, he was David's stunt double. Maybe Damien's a little bit too. He could have been stunt doubling for
Yeah.
behind the camera, maybe. But anyway, we gotta talk that. That was cool. I mean, you got to meet him. We talked some cool stories about his love of of being an action, wanting to be a stunt guy, like in action films, like in parkour stuff.
Dude, the
And
parkour history
yeah,
between
yeah,
you and him,
we
that
geeked
was
about.
so cool. That banter, like he got stoked. He was like, "Oh my God, the devil just asked me about parkour. Let me talk to you about parkour."
Yeah, so that was cool. But even when you got to meet him, he signed the thing and he did the little chainsaw drawing, which is cool because that was basically the main thing that people remember about in Terrifier 3 is the chainsaw scene, and that was he was the stunt double for that. So that was cool. Got to talk to him. They brought back another actor that said he wasn't quite sure if he was going to come back, but then they announced that Thomas, when you said Thomas Ian Nichols, who happened to be in the Halloween Resurrection, they brought Brad Loree, who was
Yeah.
Michael Myers, back into that again. So that was cool. We had met him previously, but we didn't get a chance to interview him, and he was super cool. He was down to talk. Super nice guy, had some fun stories. We talk about some of the stuff, from him being, stunt guy, and then thinking that the Michael Myers that he was doing was the, Austin Powers Michael Myers, not realizing that
Right.
the serial killer, slasher Michael Myers. So that was kind of cool, doing that interview. But like, yeah, like you said, it's a fun time. I've always loved that, going to New Jersey Horror Con, because like you said, you get a lot of them. I mean, we didn't get a chance to talk to him, but we got to mention him for a couple seconds while we were doing our interview with Tiffany Shepis. Is they had John O'Hurley, the Family Feud guy who's been doing the dog shows for 30, 40 some years, like the pageants and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool that they have like these non-typical kind of non-horror guests that they bring to New Jersey Horror Con. I always like those. It's fun because even people go, even like, like, really, why is he here? I'm like, why not? You know what I mean?
Why
Yeah,
not?
I love throwing in those curveballs, and exactly would love to see more of that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, you don't want to saturate the whole entire con with a lot of these people, but if you throw in one or two or three really odd ones, you're like, well, why is this guy here for? Like, why would he be in it? I think it's fun, when throwing in those ones, because it's like, you know, if you were running a con and you had the ability to bring in these guests, and yes, you're a horror fan, and I'm pretty sure Ryan and them are horror fans, and that's why they're into the genre. But you like other stuff. You like comedies. You like action movies. Maybe you like a little rom coms or something like that. It's funny to throw in a couple of those ones of like people that who would I like to meet? Maybe they weren't in a horror film or whatever. Like, oh, let's go meet freaking, Wayne
Like
Brady or something weird, you know what
right.
I mean? Or like
Like
throwing a
Miss like
wrestler or musicians and
oh yeah, like speaking of of Austin Powers, Mrs. Vamp was so hyped to meet Mindy Sterling.
yeah.
Like, she's not known for horror.
Yeah. I don't even
She's
think she may have been in a horror film, but even if I not off the dome, I can't think of anything she's ever done that was horror related.
right. So it's like, you send in the clowns,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
send in the fanbots, like that's what we know her for. But yeah, Mrs. Vamp loves horror, but she was so hyped to meet Mindy Sterling and like
Yeah, because I mean, even one of the ones that unfortunately had to cancel due to
yeah,
a lot of the traveling restrictions was another one where they were going to get Austin from who was also in he was in the My Cousin Vinny was the stuttering lawyer from My Cousin Vinny, but he was
yeah,
also in
she loves
Christmas.
Mr. Nanny.
Yeah, Mr. Nanny, Christmas with the Cranks, I think he might have been in.
Yep, he
But
was
yeah,
Santa.
he's typically not another one of those one. He's not a horror guy. Yeah, there's possibility his IMDb he might have been in a small one or something like that. But in general, he's known for more of those comedy kind
Yeah.
of like, maybe like family friendly, dramas and things like that. So I love that kind of stuff. That's why I said I'm always looking forward to who they're gonna bring into it. And like I said, at least as of right now with this recording, they started talking about their May one. They're gonna bring back the 3 days, which I
Yep.
think is really cool. And they've got, we're always talking about musicians, and the one musician they're bringing in. Luckily, we had an interview with her, but I'm gonna damn try to get another one because I only got a couple minutes. They brought in the iconic Lita Ford, which is
Oh
really
yeah.
cool. I saw that they had her at the Atlantic showroom one time, and I saw that when she was there, she's got her guitar and her amp and just serenading people with songs, just randomly singing songs. So not only do you get to meet an iconic musician like Lita Ford and get a signature, maybe get your album cover or your CD cover signed, but you also get to hear her just randomly just playing some of her songs, which I think is just cool. I think that's a
Yeah.
cool thing. And then they added, the iconic Bill Mosley is back again. So
Mrs.
y-
Vamp is hyped for him because she's never officially met him.
yeah, so I
She's
think that's
never,
kind of cool. So I mean, I like that. Like I said, I mean, it's always a good time. I mean, we have always had we've always had fun, and like I said, and there are times where like you said, we talked to the drawing the name the your brain damage director.
Frank Henenlotter.
Frank, yeah, we asked him, and he was like kind of like one of the ones where we've talked to where he doesn't particularly do interviews now. He's done all that kind of game, and we're
He's
cool.
passed.
We were supposed to get one with Brittany Daniel from
How
White
good
Chicks
did
and
she
stuff like
look
that.
though?
Oh, dude, she looked amazing, man.
Like,
That was like,
dude, Mrs. Vamp is still talking about how just good she looks.
yeah, she looks still good. And the cool thing about that, when we're talking about, a little bit of spoiler into the Lachlan Monroe interview, but he said he hasn't seen her since they made White Chicks.
Yeah,
So that's cool. I love that fact that they bring in these guys. And sometimes you get these people where they do these cons and maybe they do the con circuits and they see each other all the time. But it's cool that they're also bringing these co-hosts, or co-actors and co-workers that maybe they haven't seen for 30 or 40 years.
absolutely. Like, just the ability to reconnect with your peers and your friends. And she was also such a sweetheart too, because this was no coaxing of me. She signed my movie twice.
Yeah.
Like, that was her idea. Because anybody who's familiar with the classic poster or DVD cover of Club Dread, this is the classic poster. And then, her actual face is on the back of the DVD. And she'd asked me, she was like, Vampire, like, do you want me to sign the photo of me, like, poster style with the knife, or do you want me to sign the actual like photo of me with my face? And I was like, honestly, Brittany, it's whichever you would like. Like, I'm cool with either. I don't mind. It's just for me. I'm not fussy about where my autographs go. The only thing when it comes to getting signatures on something that might get more than one signature, and I'm sure everybody is kind of this way, just don't autograph over another person's autograph. I don't mind. I'm not talking about if they like kind of like the swoop kind of hits another one or whatever, but like don't hit right on top of somebody else. That's really my only thing. But other than that, I was like, nah, Brittany, dealer's choice. You are fine. She's like, I'm gonna just sign them both. I'm like, if you want to. But but no, she was awesome, and so that was super duper cool because like as much as we love Brandy from Joe Dirt, and of course we love White Chicks. I had committed to Club Dread because at the time of another con that you and I were working, Eric, I'm the worst with names, but Strawn Hands, Rabbit from Super Troopers and Guy from Slam and Salmon was supposed to be there. So I'd committed to my Club Dread movie because I could get two people on it. And, you had plenty of opportunities to watch this movie. So, spoiler alert. But Brittany's also the killer. So, like, that's very, like, yes for me. But also because of that other con that, we have a great relationship with, I feel confident that actor will return and we'll get the
Yeah.
opportunity to meet them
And,
down the road.
and with Brittany too, man, they probably was. I think there was two that I would go for so far, but with Brittany, there was a person that was cosplaying Joe Dirt that actually had the wheelbarrow, or not
The
wheelbarrow.
meteor, like
Had the meteor,
the
had the
crap
meteor, the
meteor,
crap meteor that was walking around with. That was pretty cool.
that was
And
awesome.
then obviously another big interview that we got to do, which may have may not been spoiled already. I'm just gonna say the name anyway. We got to talk to Caroline Williams from Texas Chainsaw Massacre too, like you said, talking about with Glenn Danzig and the Veronica. But it was really cool because we talked about things and she really super loved it because we're both music people, so we both obviously love Danzig. She's really close to Wednesday 13, and we have friends with Wednesday 13, and I have friends with those guys. But we also, for us being concert photographers, we're also huge fans of Jeremy Saffer, and Jeremy
Yeah,
Saffer has done a lot of her photos. And we talked about the Daughters of Darkness, which she was super stoked about, even just talking about that, because I'd imagine that most of her interviews that are at cons have never even mentioned any of that stuff. Maybe she might have like plugged it a little bit because she had some of Jeremy
yeah,
Stafford's photos on her table, and maybe they could have asked her about some of that. But somebody who is actually knowledgeable and knows about that
yeah.
project and talking about Jeremy Stafford, she
59 years old too when she did that.
oh yeah, she still looks freaking amazing. I love it too. There was even a joke about with her handler that we wanted to know which day she wanted to do an interview, and the handler was like, "Do it today. She looks really really gorgeous today." And we're like, does that mean that she's not going to be gorgeous tomorrow now? Like, what are you trying to say? Like,
And we did it tomorrow.
yeah, and we ended up doing it the next day anyway. So it was like it was just so perfect. But yeah, she was awesome. And with with that cosplaying, there was another person that was driving that was walking around as Lefty. I love it. He had the full on outfit, like the whole freaking Dennis Hopper gear, walking around with the
Yeah.
chainsaw, was pretty badass. So that's what's cool about, like I said, even at these cons, yeah, you typically think of like comic cons and those as being the more cosplaying and stuff like that. But I love about the horror cons too is that people aren't afraid to do that kind of stuff too. So it was just
Yes.
cool. Yeah, it was just like I said, it was cool. We got to talk. We got to see, like we talked about Nick, got to talk to him again, talk about Demon Scar, talking about his love. I was super, super ecstatic for him because he got to talk to, a couple of the people and got to get some plugs for his podcast. And, you know, Joe Bob and Darcy, that was another one that we were in possible talks to, doing an interview with Joe Bob, but, he was only there
I,
for one day. And,
I could read the room.
yeah, he was a popular guy. I mean, he was probably, in all honesty, which was kind of shocking because of how often he does cons. Not particularly this con, just cons in general. How he basically had the longest line. His line was like constantly getting cut, and they had to like
Yes.
bring in another load of them. So that was cool. I mean, being the fact that yeah, he was a 1 day guy too, so a lot of people needed to get him for that 1 day. But yeah,
He was signing autographs and taking pictures like kind of past time. Like he was
yeah.
packing and packed and still taking
Yeah,
photos.
still people were coming up to him, still were talking to him. I mean, he was super cool. I mean, like I said, it was to that point where, yeah, we didn't want to plug him out anymore. You know what I mean? We'll hopefully, we'll get him again in the future. But yeah, like I said, I mean, how cool. That's the one thing we were talking about. Even with some of these, it's so funny because, I mean, if you watch Joe Bob and you know who Joe Bob, yeah, he's an iconic person, but it's not somebody when you think about, these actors and stuff like that, you kind of think of like those guys as being the iconics. But I think it's funny when you talk to them, they're like, holy shit, Joe Bob is right down they were starstruck because of freaking Joe Bob, which is just cool. I think
Right.
it's cool being the fact that this, like I said, he's iconic. He's more, more of like, like a TV show host and stuff like that, talking about that kind of with the roadsides and talking about movies. And obviously he was a critic and people know his story and his life. But yeah, I thought it was kind of cool that they were like, how cool is it that I'm like 2 feet away from Joe Bob the whole right now? It's like that's insane. I'm like,
Um,
yeah, it's so cool. I thought it was really cool. I thought that we got to see our boys in American Grimm, and they
yes.
gotta premiere their
Congratulations again to
Roswell
those.
Remains, which was really cool. I heard that they had a really good showing for it for Roswell. There's the comic book, and they had a really good showing. They said they had a really good turnout. They got a lot of good feedback and a lot of good praise for it. So that's cool that they got to do it. Unfortunately, when you're working a con and you got obligations, it's to see a short film because that's the one thing about people don't know about it. And maybe in the future we'll probably maybe try to do a little bit of that. But if people that don't know, the New Jersey Horror Con is also a film festival. So a
Yes.
lot of short films and things like that, obviously an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes kind of takes away a lot of your preparation if you go and sit and watch that film to go and get what you need to get. Obviously, we were graced, to be able to come to the con and Ryan picking us up as press and doing that stuff that we don't want to spend an hour and 45 minutes of the time
Yeah.
watching a movie.
And no disrespect to our homies, like by any
Yeah,
means, because I'm excited to watch their movie
yeah,
when I get the opportunity, and I know you are too. But their time slot was also not conducive for our schedule because like
yeah.
they got a great time slot for what they're doing, but 2:45, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's like when you and I are firing on all cylinders, and we're like, you know. taking little breaks between interviews to check out a little bit of like the vendor area, or judging the line length and being like, okay, so we've taken care of, we've interviewed A, B, and C. Okay, well, let's take a look at our confirmed interviews for XYZ. How are their lines looking? Yeah, so their movie being at like 3 o'clock at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we were like, it is not personal, boys, because we love you. But yeah, that ain't happening. Like we were zoned in by by that time and stuff. But I know, of course, we love our family and American Grims. We need our homies in horror scene to come showing up, formerly the Suicide Puppets. We need to get them back out, doing their thing, so we can have a little bit of fun when it comes to that. But yeah, Devil, I mean, overall, man, it was a great one. I loved our interview with Lachlan. Like I said before, I think the Fangs and Infernos have a real treat coming their way when it comes to that one. But I got to tell you, buddy, I really did enjoy our time with Amos. I thought that was so
Yeah.
cool. Like him talking about being a father and whether his kids are or aren't following in his footsteps, but like when they come across things and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, dad, check this out." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I was in that." And they're like, "What?" And he gets to prove it to them that he was in there. And just being super cool, getting to talk to him a little bit about, you know, Adam's be in a movie with Adam Sandler, an iconic movie with Adam Sandler, where unfortunately, and probably something as simple as Adam's trajectory mixed with the fact that Amos was very young at the time. Unfortunately, he's lost contact with Adam over the years, but I think it'd be super cool if at some point they were able to hook back up, even if it was something as simple as just running into each other at a coffee shop. I think that would be pretty rad. But I really enjoyed that interview. I thought that was super cool. And I'm definitely looking forward to another con that we're working to give another shout out to Will. Because the funny thing about that is like the Fangs and Infernos aren't going to know this, but like I kept like I wasn't sure on the second
Yeah.
day with Will, because it's not that he wasn't awesome. I was like, look, he signed my DVD. He was great. He gave me a free photo. Like really, really cool guy, and he was down for the interview. But that the second day, and again, Fangs and Infernos, that Devil and I aren't political people. Well, this is not politically charged. I'm just stating it because it had something to do with it. Pretty much all of Sunday he's wearing a mask, and it started with like a traditional kind of surgical mask, and then it kind of went into this like almost kind of goofy gas mask kind of thing, but he was rocking it like the whole time. And I just wasn't really sure how to figure this.
Yeah. We weren't sure if it was like, he's doing that and he wore that surgical one under because he was wearing that one. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like a gag, and or maybe he wasn't feeling as good. So we didn't want to like be like, "Hey, do you want to do an interview?" Because obviously it'd be kind of weird to do the interview where I was wearing a gas mask and yeah, versus that. So we were like, and that's the bad thing about it. I'm kind of curious when we do see him again to ask him about that, because
Yeah.
that was the whole time. Like we really didn't want to seem like we were,
Like
ignoring him to do
I
the interview. Like
felt
we were,
I
yeah,
felt bad. Like
because we were like we
I
weren't like
felt like we blew him off when we
yeah.
told him we would interview him.
Yeah. We didn't want to. We were like, but we were like, but obviously, if he was wearing that, maybe he wasn't. He was on coming under the weather, and he didn't want to not cancel because he wanted to be there for that day. So he's like, I'll just wear this mask. I'll still sign stuff and do like that, but maybe talking one on one as far as interviewing wise. So we're like, yeah, I'm kind of curious. When we do see him, if we can, we'll hopefully get one. But like I said, just to find out, because like I said, we definitely weren't trying to blow him off, and that was the thing. And that was the other thing too, like, about that we can mention that was kind of funny about our experience in New Jersey HorrorCon this time versus the last time. So we kind of learned that when people want to do these interviews. A lot of them like to do Sunday, because Sundays, everybody knows that Sundays at cons has always been the more chill day. I'm not saying that it's dead empty. I'm just saying versus Saturday. If you're there Friday, if you're at a con Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday, Saturdays is always your big one. That's when everybody's gonna go because most people have that day. It's easier to get that day off or whatever like that. So your Fridays and your Sundays have always been your lighter days at every con. No matter where you're at, Saturdays is always, unless you have somebody who's strictly just a Friday or Sunday only. That Saturdays are typically, so everybody's like Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. So we were getting all of our interviews every Sunday, 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 which is all right. We're used to that. Okay, we know we're gonna bang out a lot of them on Sunday. Cool, we'll just bang them all out. But the crazy thing, we were doing it, a lot of them wanted to do it straight as soon as the con opened, which
That was
that was
crazy,
one of
Devil.
our parfos that we did when we were trying to talk to Tyler Main. He's like, come and see me on Sunday. We came in early. He didn't have a line. We're like, okay, let's go and see. And he's like, yeah, guys,
Yeah.
the con just started. I don't want to do this shit right now. Not, he didn't say it that way, but
Yeah.
respectfully, he basically, that's what he said to us.
Yeah, but
So
lesson learned.
we're like, okay, so we know when we tell these people, okay, they want us on Sunday, we're not going to walk in at 10:15 and go right up to their table, even if they have nobody. But
Yeah.
as soon as we walked in, Caroline Williams like, hey, are you ready? This person was like, hey, they wanted to bang them out straight up. So it was like, it was kind of like a weird conflict of like, we learned our lessons. Okay, we won't do that. But then, and then it's like, now we got to break our own rules because
I
these
know.
guys wanted to do those early, straight up. I want to get it done, get it over with. Not, just because I know that maybe later on it's going to be busier or something like that. I might not have the time. Let's just do it because we're super excited and we really want to do it, which is cool. That
Yeah.
was the cool thing about, about doing this con and, just the New Jersey Horror Con in general. Like you
Totally.
said, even the people who have declined the interviews, because like I said, they're not obligated to.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that whenever they get picked up, if they've been to a con before, or they haven't been to a con before, it probably explain to you, hey, I do have media people. They possibly might ask you for interviews. And like I said, and I'm pretty sure it goes where, if you want to do them, you can do them. If you don't, it's cool. And like I said, everybody who hasn't done one hasn't been like, F you guys, we don't want to talk to
No.
you, we don't really care. You know what I
No.
mean? Always been really respectable. And even the ones that we didn't, like you were talking about earlier, we were gonna talk,
Frank.
we're in talks with Frank, but even we were in talks with Tara Reid and
Yep.
just things, his agent, which shout out to
Dude,
Tara and
shout
Thomas's
out to
agent.
him.
Yeah, that guy was just one of
So
the
so
coolest
professional.
coolest agents ever. He was like, man, I feel fully sorry. Let's try another day. And other things happen. He's like, man, I'm really, really sorry. This isn't gonna work out this time either. And we're like, hey, man, we get it. We know you're not gonna hurt our feelings. It's obviously, like I said, when we go to somebody and they go, no, the only ones to me that we haven't had this experience, but I think the only ones to me that wouldn't make sense if we went up to like more of the independent directors. Like I said, I'm just going to use him as an example. We did talk to him, but Scott Goldberg, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, with the Forest Hills guys. You're trying to plug your film, or even Xander with the Crimson Harvest. You're trying to plug your independent film. If you go to somebody and go, nah, I don't want to do an interview. Then it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I can understand, the bigger celebrities or something like that, maybe not wanting to do them or they're in con modes and stuff like that. But as an independent person, I would want to talk to anybody who even interested in me at all. I don't even care if you have a blog that has one person and it's your girlfriend who watches your blog and that's it. At least then you're still getting it out for the possibility of somebody finding out about your stuff. I mean, like I said, we haven't personally gotten that, but that's the only one to me where I would think personally, I'm just like, yeah, we've had ones with asked us,
Yep.
how big is your spread? How big is your following? And it's like that. And we're, like I said, we could play the rock star game just like them and go, oh yeah, we're super big, man. We got 9 billion followers, and
We're huge in
yeah,
Japan.
we're huge in Japan. We can throw in. We're the number one podcast in the world. I mean, they're not gonna believe that shit. But anyway, like I
I
said,
mean,
we're honest. We
Brad
tell them.
Laree did ask us that.
Yeah, and it's like we're gonna be honest. We're young. We're an up and coming. Up and coming. We've only been doing this for this would be our second year or our second season or whatever you want to call it for it. So it's like we tell them. And it's cool if someone was like. unfortunately, I don't want to. I can't do this. I don't want to do this interview because I'd like to get more people out. Or if you had a bigger one, that's still not going to hurt my feelings if somebody
Nope.
says like, "Hey, man, you guys are just too small for us right now." And
I
I'm
feel
like,
like I feel like Bai Ling was kind of hinting towards that with her handler without
"Yeah."
being that
Without being rude.
direct,
Or, yeah,
without
exactly.
trying to
Now,
be
like I
rude.
said, if they said it in a weird way, like, "Oh no, we don't talk to pieces of shit like you," or something like that, maybe. But in general, like I said, most of the people, I get it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, and like I said, it's part of the game. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, a lot of these celebrities, like I said, I think what's cool about with us, and I'm not saying that other people don't do this, but I think it's really cool with what we do when we do these cons is that we're respectable for their time with their fans. That's how they're there for their fans, not only just to meet their fans. I'm not saying that it's all about money, but it is a business. They're there to make money, and talking to us for while they have a long line of 30 or 40, 50 people might deter those guys from going, "Oh shit, okay, yeah, I'm not going to go see her," and then never go back to see that celebrity again. And that could have possibly cost them $50, $100, $200, $300, who knows, how much money they would have spent at that person's table. So we're always really respectable about, which is cool. I think a lot of the celebrities are really, really, honestly are appreciative of that. And the fact that, like I said, we if we've talked to some celebrities that might have had some controversy, we don't try to plug any of that stuff. We're not a dirt tabloid. We're not going to try to do that. So a lot of that, plus, like like I said, we talked to when we talked to Tiffany, this is not spoiling her one, but she was like, you know afterwards when we were done, she's like, "Oh, you guys are really, really good. You guys had really good questions. A lot of times I get the same kind of shit questions over and over and over again," which was really cool. It's like, what I mean? It's not like, yeah, I mean, like I said, we both do the music thing and we talk to people. You talk to somebody who's like, "Well, how'd you get your name? Who are your influences?" Well, yeah, I mean, if it's a newer band, okay. If you're interviewing Gene Simmons, you don't really need to ask him questions that everybody and their mother's already asked him for the last 40 or 50 years. Those are
Yeah.
the kind of questions they get all the time, and it just makes you look like a shit person, or a shit media person, that you're
Right.
gonna like ask those questions that literally anybody can go and find
It's
about.
on
Yes,
Wikipedia.
yes, there are questions that you still need to ask, and then there's questions that we ask, like about like what you have coming on for the next year. This. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about this kind of stuff in this movie and that movie. But then again, like I said, it's one thing that we love, and a lot of people do, is they can tell that we're not only passionate about it, but we do our homework too. And we
Yes.
like to talk about things. And we'll mention a project, like I said, with Caroline Williams with the Daughters of Darkness. She was
Yep.
just like, holy shit. Like, she didn't really say that out loud, but you can just tell she was like, "Oh my God, I get to talk about something that no one ever asked me about," or even like a small film that most people wouldn't know about, and be like, "Oh my God, you've seen that movie? You're like the third person in the entire world that probably knows that movie exists," and I like
I
that. That's what I
I
love
have
about
a
New Jersey Horror Con when it comes to that. Is I love that being able to do that with these people and stuff like that, and it's cool. You know what I mean? We've you know we've got a lot of cool people. Like I said, we've mentioned it 9 million times, and we still talk about it. But a person that we were always going to meet because she was a vampire in a vampire movie, but with Brandy Roddick, we still have a very good rapport with her, that we
yes.
still talk to her all the time. Felissa, obviously, I mean, she's a fan. She's the one that basically went over to Lachlan and PA and said, "You got to do this concert." When we went over to Lachlan, we're like, "Hey, do you remember us, Felissa?" He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." So he was like, I'm down for the cause, even if regardless, because Felissa basically, plugged him and said, "You need to do this
Endorsed,
con."
kind of endorsed us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Devil. Just like you said, like we're not sensitive. We understand. Like for example, Alex Vincent gave us a very straightforward answer. He's like, "No, but that's because when I'm at cons, I'm in con mode. I'm in meeting fans mode, telling stories mode, not interview mode." Ken Foree, which made me laugh because he was like, "I mutter and mumble. I'm not a good interview." I'm like, "Dude, you're Ken Foree. 3 minutes would be an amazing interview." But just like you mentioned, like Tara Reid's manager, incredibly professional, really can't say enough about the guy. In fact, I'm a little sad I didn't get his name, or at least didn't exchange business cards.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were called East Coast something. We'll have to look it up because
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't mind reaching out to that guy and just saying like, hey man, you were one of the cooler agents. And I'm not saying that, other agents aren't
No,
cool and stuff like that. We've never, like I
their
said, we've
their
never had
their their
a bad
job is to be
reaction.
protective.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's but it was to the point where like he felt really bad about us not being able to do it. So it's like kind of like, I mean, like I said, things happen, but it's still cool. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to possible the next ones. Like we said earlier about sponsorships. We're in talks of possibly you're working on a sponsorship with Ryan and the New Jersey HorrorCon. So that's going to be cool. Where in the future, and like I said, I mean, like I said, it's cool that a con, like I said, being new and kind of smaller size, that a con kind of took a chance on us, and that he still goes, okay, I like what these guys do enough that I'm willing to let them come back and do again. He knows that we're gonna treat it like a profession. Yes, we're still gonna go as a con person. There's definitely people that we
Yeah.
still want to meet, and we're still gonna do that kind of stuff, which is something that it's good. It's good for business anyway too, because those celebrities are making, if we didn't get anything signed and all we did was just interviews, that's $50 this person didn't make more, or $100 this person didn't make more, or whatever like that.
Yeah.
So, it's good. Like I
Carolyn
said,
Williams made $100 just off of us.
yeah. So it's like it's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, it's cool. And like I said, I can't express how much I am definitely grateful to Ryan and the crew and just the staff. I mean, the staff is such a cool staff. Like I said, it's like I said, they they deal with problems really really quick. They're just super super courteous. As long as you're doing what you supposed to do, don't do anything stupid. They've always been really cool, and I love seeing that too. That's one of my favorite things too at these cons, where you see the volunteers. And that was one thing that we could have gotten probably our interview with Brandy, and it didn't kind of work out, but it kind of like was, in retrospect, it was awesome because yeah, towards that end when we could have gotten her, she was doing all the stuff with the volunteers and getting their pictures and getting their autographs. And yeah, we don't want to deter these guys who are working hard at the con for the people they want
Exactly.
to meet too. So it's like, yeah, it sucks that we didn't get the interview with Brandy, but I mean, if it, or Brittany, I mean, that we didn't it's not to the expense of like the volunteers being able to get the meter. So it's like, yeah, yeah. And even they were like, oh, do you want it? And I'm like, no, you guys you do for same thing we say with fans when fans are going, oh no, no, and like, no, go ahead,
We
you
can
do
wait.
that,
Like, well,
we
like
can
with
wait.
Lachlan.
Yeah.
Lachlan asked us to give him 5 minutes to take care of that family.
Group came in. Even the guy, he was like, and his agent or the person he was working, working the table with him was like, "Can you guys?" Chill?" Like, yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. It's now once we get started, that's a little bit different of stopping. But yeah, if we haven't started yet, yeah, go do what you need to do. That's why you're here for. We'll
Absolutely.
get it. We'll get it one way or another. So it's cool. But yeah, it's like I said, it's just a fun time. I'm
Great
looking
time.
forward. I'm looking forward to next year. Like I said, as of the recording, they are officially going back to 3 days. It's going to be in the end of May, so that's going to be kind of cool. It's a little bit later than we used to, because I think the first year we went was March, and then the second
Yeah.
year was April. So they're moving it closer and closer to the nice warm days and summer days. So it's gonna be nice and hot and smoky burning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So New Jersey HorrorCon, we love you guys so much. Thank you so much, Ryan, to all of your staff as well. And we can't wait to see you guys. Also, for what it's worth, their Fangs and Infernos, there is a New Jersey HorrorCon later this year. They are doing their holiday sideshow later this year, I believe in December or late
December, yeah.
November. It is
Yeah,
December.
it's in
Thank you,
December, yeah.
Devil. So in December. So it's on our radar. Me and Devil are aware of it. We'll see how the chips fall when it comes into that, because just like you guys, Christmas and holiday time is very, very tricky. So, Devil has family, I have family. So we'll see how things go out. But if we're not able to make that happen, we will absolutely see you guys in May for the next full-on 3 days New Jersey HorrorCon. We're really, really looking forward to that. But again, thank you all so much for checking us out and listening to this review of New Jersey HorrorCon. Another great experience. Hey, again, cancellations happen. That's just the way it is. But just like Devil said, you don't go for one person. You can have a disappointment. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Hey, I was excited to be that guy to bring the obscure vampire movie that Vanessa Angel did that nobody was going to know about it. Man, I had that bullet in the chamber ready to slide that DVD across her table, which I'm going to have to wait till a future opportunity to do that. But anyway, a great time as always. We love you, Ryan. We love you, New Jersey HorrorCon. Thank you as always for having us. And we can't wait to see you in May, if not before. Fangs and Infernos, thank you guys so much. Stay tuned for all of the upcoming interviews that Devil's going to start posting soon. So we're really looking forward to getting those out to you guys so you can sit back, enjoy, and listen to all the great conversations that we were privileged to have. If you love what me and the Devil do, make sure that you guys are supporting our friends Mark and Lizzie. They handle all of our merch at rockandhorror.com. Go to the Vampire and Devil collab category, and it's got all of our merch, hoodies, t-shirts, tanks, hats, all that fun stuff. So definitely check it out, because not only are you supporting us, but you're supporting Mark and Lizzie. Of course, shout out to our buddy Chris with the Buffalo Bill House. And of course, it's getting into Halloween season, so I got to give some love to the spooky decor, Chris and Saren with Twisted Vines. We really appreciate you guys. Take care, be good to each other, and we can't wait to set it up and knock it on down with some more future things. Take care. We'll see you soon. Horns up, Fangs and Infernos. Fangs out. Right on, Fangs and Infernos. We're right back at you. We're having our fun, our good time. Day 2 here at New Jersey HorrorCon, and we're going to keep it rolling. Lachlan Monroe, thank you so much, my friend. It's been great to see you. We got to see you at PA HorrorCon for a couple of minutes. You know,
a little quick face appearance.
Dipped in. You know, it's like you were being held by your ankles, like dangled down in front. But first and foremost, man, thank you so much for your time. And how's the weekend been for you so far?
It's been fun. Yeah, a lot of cool people here, and a lot of co-stars like Brittany Daniel. I honestly haven't seen Brittany since we did White Chicks together. So so it was really cool to just chat with her and just kind of catch up on each other's lives. And she's such a lovely person. So really cool. Like not only do I get to meet fan base, but often once in a while I get to actually meet my co-stars,
reconnect with your peers and stuff. Absolutely. And one of the things that's also cool and very just rad from your filmography is there's so much talk about another a new scary movie, of which you were a part of in the kickoff of that franchise. How do you look back at Scary Movie and how you've seen it go till now?
Right. No, it's I love the fact that the Wayans got the rights back, because it sort of feels like there obviously was a different sense of humor between the Zuckers and the Wayans family, so you could see that in the style of the movies. And I've nothing against the Zucker brothers, but I myself prefer the Wayans humor a bit more, just for my personal taste. And what I'm really, really excited about is I'm actually in Scary Movie 6.
Oh, that's awesome,
nice.
man.
So
Well, congratulations and welcome back.
I start next week, bro.
Oh, right on.
nice.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And also, of course, from myself, which I told you yesterday, I can't, you've been involved in with my brethren. So how do you look back at your time in Dracula 2000 with the late great Wes Craven?
Right, man. So when I did Scary Movie, I signed a deal with Dimension Miramax, and Dracula 2000 was the first movie that I did in that sort of 3-picture deal, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the movie was really slick. It was directed by a gentleman who used to be an editor of a TV series that I did in Canada when I was a teen.
Oh, wow.
So that was really cool. Like amazing that all just came in full circle. The interesting thing for me about Dracula 2000 is that we started shooting without a Dracula. And so, the cast, Omar and myself and Danny, and every day we'd be like, so who's Dracula? They're like, we don't know yet. And then, next day, who's Dracula? They're like, we found a Dracula. And we're like, who is it? And they're like, Well, it's a Scottish actor. He just finished doing an Attila the Hun miniseries. And we're like, and who is it? They're like, his name is Gerard Butler. And we're like, who is Gerard Butler? So then Gerard Butler comes to set, and we all meet Gerard Butler. And I look at Gerard Butler, and I go, this man is a movie star. And so, so Gerald Butler became, Jerry Butler became a movie star. But I knew it right away, bro. Yeah.
Oh, that's
but I
so
thought the movie was a lot of fun. I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, it was really like slickly
Slick,
shot.
right?
Like, yeah, it's just real, just clean and stuff. And it's tricky too, because like, again, I'm not going to get super into it, but like there's such a diverse filmography to just vampires in general.
exactly.
And so it's very tricky. Like, my big thing that plenty of people have heard me go off on tangents for myself is my only real trigger when it comes to vampire movies is how you present the lore of it. And I'm a big supporter of your personal vision, how you want to portray something, but I kind of look at it where there's the classic stuff, sunlight, garlic, steaks, so on and so forth. If you want to venture into other things, kind of like when we were back in school doing math, I understand, show your work. So if you want to go in a direction that's maybe not exactly the norm or the classic of vampiric lore, just show your work. Simply explain or find a way to make the fans see why you went that direction. So that's always a big thing for me. And that's one thing I do like about, the Wes Craven trilogy, is they're all very, very unique. Some hit better in places than others, but again, that's the way the film industry is. But they're all very well designed. And that was something I could always appreciate, even if some of the latter movies are not as strong as what Dracula 2000 started off. I do think they're all very well designed and have a quality story to tell. And so that's always something I thought was really, really cool. Devil, my friend, take it away.
Oh, yeah. So for me being growing up, the main movie I want to talk about, I was always a huge Saved by the Bell fan.
Right.
So talk about working with, Mark Paul on
Right.
Dead Man on Campus. And
Right.
do you still get horny enough that you like to hump couches?
Yes. Okay, so I'd known Mark Paul for a while. We were both hockey. We both love hockey, so I met Mark playing hockey in LA, right? And so when I read for Dead Men on Campus, I actually read to play the lead Cooper that Mark Paul ended up getting. So when I found out that Mark Paul got the part, I said to my agent, do you think I could read for that Cliff O'Malley character? And so they let me come in and read for Cliff O'Malley, and I went nuts in the audition. Like everything that you saw me do in the movie, I kind of did in the audition. Like I humped the casting director's couch. I chugged a beer in her. So the funny thing is I was at a little Mexican stand in LA off of Sunset getting burritos or whatever. And not a lot of people know that Mike White wrote Dead Man on Campus. So if you guys know all the White Lotus TV shows and stuff.
The TV shows.
So that's Mike White, right? So Mike White wrote Dead Man on Campus. I get this tap on my back. I turn around, and this kind of nebbish-ear, smaller, skinny, red-haired guy. And he goes, are you Lachlan Monroe? And I go, yeah. He goes, my name's Mike White. I wrote Dead Man on Campus. And he goes, your audition tape is making the rounds at Paramount. And I was like, what? He goes, dude, that audition tape was crazy. So that's how I ended up in Dead Man on Campus. And then when I got there, they let me improv. I just went off. And then Sherry Lansing, the head of Paramount, because my character was supposed to die in the movie.
Yeah.
And so she was like, no, that guy doesn't die. So they had a way of keeping me alive. And then we wrote a bunch more scenes after we wrapped the movie. We came back a month later and we wrote some more scenes to have Cliff O'Malley in the movie a bit more.
Keep on coming back, yeah.
It was crazy, yeah.
Did you when you did all the crazy stuff, especially the scenes with the balcony, was that all you straight
all
up?
improv.
And all
Dude, do you remember when I VA'd them?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't even supposed to do that. And not only that, I went up to a grip. I was behind the scenes of the balcony, and I had a black Jiffy marker or Sharpie, and I said to a grip, I go, bro, this is going to sound weird, but can you write "eat me" on my ass? And he's like, what? I go, I know it's. And he goes, yeah, no problem. So I pulled my pants down. He wrote "eat me" on my ass. the reason I did that is because I thought it'd be kind of cool to pay homage to the movie Animal House.
Yeah.
So at the end of the movie, when their float in the parade was a big cake,
Yeah, yep.
and it said "Eat me,"
Yeah.
that's why I did that. And I wasn't even supposed to do a BA, let alone have "Eat me" written on my ass. But all that ended up in the movie.
Well, that's funny that you say that too, because I've always told people that movie, Dead Man on Campus, is that generation's version of Animal House. I always felt like that was exactly what that movie was kind of portraying, that kind of college crazy stuff. I love the fact that the loophole of having somebody die in your college video 4.0 and all that kind of stuff. I love that. So that's funny that you did that.
You know, I remember going to the American Pie premiere a couple of years after our movie came out, and Sean William Scott came up to me and said, "Bro, I just wanted to come over and introduce myself." He goes, "I basically created Stifler off of Cliff O'Malley." And I was
I
like,
can see it.
That's so cool.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I can see it. Like, that makes sense.
So the difference is their movie made $1 kajillion and
Yeah.
Dead Man on Campus. You know, I think that for me, Dead Man on Campus for me is like kind of a sleeper movie.
Yeah.
But the problem with Dead Man on Campus is it just took too long to introduce the three guys that could possibly be their way out of failing.
Yeah.
It just took too long to introduce that situation. Right?
Yeah.
So once the three of us were introduced, the movie picked up.
Yeah.
I feel like Drop Dead Fred had a little bit of that feel, where it's got that kind of humor mixed with like raunch, but just very like a unique style of delivery on things. And some fans were a little just unsure how to take it at first, and then it grew later.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then, obviously, looking at your table and stuff like that, talk about being murdered by Jason. Talk about Freddie v. Jason.
Yeah, that was
Tough day.
Yeah, I know, right? The only thing that I wish they had done is let Stubbs maybe like put up a bit of a fight. Like get a couple licks in here and there, just to kind of give him a little bit more of a heroic ending. Even though he was there to save the kids, and he was kind of like the heart of the actual human being story of it. But it was pretty fun to work with Ken Persinger, who I've known in Canada because he was a well-known stuntman in Canada for a lot of years, and I started out in Canada in Vancouver. So it was fun to work with him. I thought the young cast was really cool, and I think at the moment I honestly didn't realize that I was working with such iconic characters because I wasn't really a big horror movie fan when I was younger. I mean, I didn't not like them, but it wasn't like I knew every Jason Voorhees movie.
Yeah.
I don't even honestly know if I'd ever seen the Freddy Krueger movie when I shot that film. So it wasn't until it came out that I realized, wow, this has a huge fan base.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, very, very interesting to now go around and meet people that have been so attached to Friday the 13th storylines for all these years.
Yeah. And then with all of us, like you said, you were saying earlier, and me and Vampire are definitely huge fans of it. Talk about hockey a little bit. Who was your team? We're both hockey guys.
Okay,
He's a Bruins guy. I'm a Penguins guy. But talk about your love of hockey and stuff like that. Who are you into? And now the hockey season's getting ready to start right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Vancouver, right?
Yeah, so I figure you're probably
I'm
Canucks.
I'm a Heartache Canuck fan.
Yep.
We've been to the dance when I was really young against the Islanders in '81 or '82. And we just got swept by Bossy and Trottier and those guys. You guys are a little young for that, but
yeah, it was
and then
three.
Of course 1993 or 92 or 93 or 94.
94
against the Rangers.
Man, what a series!
Right, like
Yeah.
7 games, crazy.
Yeah, with Pavel and
And then Nathan Lafayette bringing that off the crossbar right before, it was in overtime. Yeah, it was in
overtime.
And he hit the crossbar. And I played for the Canuck alumni team, so I play with Lafayette.
Oh.
And so we talk about that moment a lot.
Trevor Linden.
Yeah, Linden and Dave Babbage and Kirk McLean. Like I played with all those guys. Herke Lume.
nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I always liked Kirk a lot. I was always a big
Kirk,
fan.
he's a really cool guy.
To be honest, I've always wanted you guys to bring back those jerseys.
Well, they do use them as a third jersey.
Yeah,
but I think they should be their regular.
That
skate.
black, red,
it's awesome.
yellow skin. Yes.
And now they have the flat black helmets that go with that.
Oh.
And it looks dope.
Mhm.
So, and then of course the Bruins. God damn it! Like honestly, that was our series. They just the Bruins slapped us around a bit, right? And it's interesting because the NHL was going towards more of the team that Vancouver built, right? That like, they were taking that sort of intimidation size, rough game. They were trying to make the game a bit more like quicker, smaller, a little more about skill, right? Yeah. And it bit Vancouver in the ass because in the playoffs, all that hockey went out the door. It became who was going to be sort of like even the way the Panthers played in the last couple of years, right?
Definitely.
The depth of that team to be able to pound you and to be able to like a Matthew Tkachuk style, right?
Yeah.
Vancouver didn't have that. We had all these young like Mason Raymond and all these guys that in that series against Boston just
I mean, I was watching it and just sweating because when you guys took the 2-0 lead,
Right.
like 8 seconds into overtime with that wraparound goal, I'm just sitting there like, bro, this
It
is
was
going to
our
be a
series,
bad
man.
series. But then Lucic and Marchand they upped that physical game.
and Sean Thornton.
Yeah.
Oh, the intimidation factor, like that. Yes, it was. I mean, you remember when Marchand punched Henrik Sedin or Daniel Sedin like 5 times in the head?
Yeah.
Like I watched that and I was just couldn't believe that no one on Vancouver did a thing about that. And that's when the series turned. Right? Like, you got a guy like Marchand that is an awesome player. But he was pretty young back then. For him to, like, just sit and punch, like, a guy like Sedin, in the head a couple times and no one does anything about it.
Like the Twins. Like I remember when you guys traded up to have those 2 back-to-back picks and everybody. That was the first time I also ever saw, like, the what do they call it? The commissioner of a sports league not even do with the second pick and then come back with the third pick. He just said straight with the second and third pick in the NHL draft. The Vancouver Canucks are taking Hendrick and Sedin.
Yeah, like I said,
one speech.
I miss a lot of that game too, especially when it was physical. Like you had guys like George Lamack. It was for love watching the fighting, and I understand now it's a different sport. They're trying to make it. They're trying to make it like so these players can play a lot longer. It's a lot more, healthier too. Head injuries.
They also feel that taking the fighting out of the game is growing the sport. I think that they felt that certain people wouldn't watch the game if it was too violent. I don't really know, but the skill level and the speed of the game, bro, is freaking awesome.
It's insane.
Right? So, like, what they really need to do is they need to lengthen and widen the ice. They need to make it a European size rink.
International
Right? So because now, like, skilled players have that little extra room to just burn, right? The problem is that you take away seats when you widen and lengthen. And so the owners are like, well, no, he's going to take money out of our pockets if we widen these rinks.
For sure.
But it's that's why I love watching the Olympics when it's overseas. Now all of a sudden the ice is bigger and these guys are flying.
Good, man. It's so good. And now one of the movies I also definitely want to ask you about because I'm a big fan is Totally Killer. I love that movie.
I loved it too, but it got a little buried because we were on strike. When the movie came out, we were on strike, bro, and we couldn't talk about it, couldn't do anything. And honestly, it's one of my favorite movies that I've done. I thought Kiernan Shipka was so good. I thought the storyline was great. You have a slasher film, you have a Back to the Future, and you have a little comedy in there.
Exactly.
And working with Julie Bowen was like such a treat, and the director Nadia, she was so great. And I'm glad that everyone I talked to all say, dude, I love that movie.
Yes, so
like I think we could do a sequel to that. Don't you?
I do. I would really love. Call me, not even just for a part. Just let me be involved in promotion or swing by or whatever. I truly do love that movie.
I love it.
Lachlan, if you don't mind me asking, based on what you're allowed to talk about in this situation, because I was always kind of curious. With a writer's strike, like for somebody like myself and Devil that aren't writers in the industry or involved like that, why were you all so like kind of NDA? Like, why couldn't you talk about things with
it
a
wasn't
situation
the writer's
like
strike;
that?
it was the actor's strike.
Well,
Oh, that was the
that
actors'
was the
strike.
actors'
Yeah,
strike.
no, I mean,
yeah.
see, the writers went on strike in May, then the SAG Guild went on strike in July.
Yeah.
That's
And
what it
so
was. Because
when-
we met
yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland and during the writer's strike, and even he still couldn't talk about a lot of
Oh,
things.
wow, okay.
Not, we didn't get to interview him. We
Sure.
had just gotten to like kind of meet him, and he had done. He was doing the circuit at other cons,
Yeah.
and there were so like autographs. He did it for us, but there were a lot of autographs he could only do, but weren't allowed to write his character name.
Right. Yes, because the studio, our guild was against anything studio-ish. That's why smaller independent movies, if they could prove that they were funded just by like private equity, then they were given a waiver to use SAG Act members, right? So while we were doing the strike, I shot a movie in Savannah called Vampires of the Velvet Lounge, which should be out soon.
Nice.
It was with Mina Subari, Stephen Dorff, Tyrese Gibson.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool little movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely definitely a different sort of vibe to it. But yeah, you guys will see it. But it was all self-funded, so we were able to get a waiver to be able to SAG went, okay, prove to me that there's no studio money in this movie. As soon as you prove that to the union, they were like, okay, you can use one of our members. But
Gotcha.
if I went to a con and people said, hey, I really loved Scary Movie, tell me about your experience. I couldn't talk
Yeah,
about
that's what a lot of people were saying. Like when we went to cons, they were like, you can go up and they'll sign stuff, but you're not allowed to ask them questions about their movies because of this. And we thought a lot of that was going to hurt the industry because people come in, maybe they're not going to come because they're not able to talk at that time and stuff like that. So I mean. Yeah, it was kind of weird. I was curious about how the inner workings of that works with you guys.
Yeah, so that's kind of what happened with Totally Killer. We couldn't talk about it, couldn't promote it.
Gotcha.
Because it was an Amazon movie.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mrs. Vamp is sitting just off of camera, but Mama Vamp, she is a big fan of Charmed. So how do you remember your Charmed experience?
I loved it. I wasn't sure, I originally tested for the original, to play the character of Andy the cop, and I didn't get that part, and that was when it was a 20-minute pilot presentation.
Oh.
So in second season, Aaron Spelling called my agents and said, I'd like him to come and play this character of Jack Sheridan. I was shooting Scary Movie at the time, so I actually shot my first episode of Charmed while I had to fly back and forth between LA and Vancouver because I was shooting Scary Movie at the time.
And that was shot in Vancouver?
Yeah, Scary Movie was.
Oh, wow.
But I loved it. I wasn't sure, honestly. I was like, I don't know, are the girls going to be late all the time? Are they going to be fighting all the time? That's kind of what I thought. That was my trepidation.
Yeah.
But once I got there, it was lovely. The girls were great, always prepared. And I really enjoyed my experience on the show.
Awesome. And before I kick it up to Devil, because we want to allow you to get back to spending time with your fans, being that you would have this chemistry and this relationship with the Wayans, I was kind of curious if you've been able to, being that we're at a HorrorCon, have you been able to make it to the movies to see him? Because it seems to be getting amazing reviews.
No, I haven't. I'm going to go this week.
I
was in Panama City for about a week, and then I came here, so I haven't had a chance. But yeah, I support all of my friends, and it's sometimes movies are hit and miss,
Sure.
But I support all my friends that make movies. It's hard. Odds are against you 100% that a movie will come out good.
Yeah.
Always. It's a very difficult task, to actually shoot a script the way it's written, to have it edited the way it's written. I mean, it's monumental. So anyone who makes movies, my hat goes off to them because it's a difficult thing. And and I especially love to support friends, so I'll definitely be seeing that. And then when I see him on set next week, or I start on the 7th on Scary Movie 6, so I will definitely go up and let him know that I've been. And, yeah, so
And we will definitely be in the theaters watching Scary Movie 6 when that comes
out
for
in
sure.
June of 26.
Awesome. And Devil, anything final from yourself, my friend?
Well, just basically, talk about, your experiences at these cons and stuff like that. Because, people like you, people like Felissa, you guys are always just super, really cool meeting your fans. Talk about that experience, like that, just coming to these cons.
Yeah, so for me, it's interesting because I don't do theater as much. So this is when I get to meet the fan base and watch the work that we do. So I find those interactions really cool. I personally like to make it an experience for people because I remember when I was 12 years old meeting NHL hockey players.
Yeah.
And if they took time to even ask what position I played, created a memory for me. So my goal here is to create memories for the fan base so that they can go away with an experience of not only getting to talk to you about a movie or just being able to say, oh my God, White Chicks got me through a tough time in my life, whatever, right? I love that. And so that's what I try to do when I come to the cons. I'm lucky that I'm a people person. I can't imagine what it'd be like to come to cons, and if you're someone who's a little bit sort of
introverted,
it's probably painful for people. But for me, it's like I try to give people a bit of time, let them know I appreciate them, and try to answer questions. It's not always easy because sometimes you have huge lineups, and you don't want people to wait too long. But, so that's kind of what my goal is while I'm here. And I just try to. This isn't calling teeth.
And then
I'm signing these that I,
signing some stuff.
that I hopefully entertain people in, and that's a pretty easy task.
Absolutely. Did you ever establish if the Wayans brothers were more like Ben and Jerry or Haagen-Dazs?
I'm still going to go with Haagen-Dazs.
Because of and I'm going to end it that because you just pointed that out.
Yeah.
Talk about, because we're big, huge wrestling fans, talk about being on Peacemaker, working with John Cena, and that show is just the love of 80s music that's in that series is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a James Gunn vibe, right? And he's amazing. James Gunn is such a joy to work with. The guy's so creative, and he's such a captain of the ship, right? Like you just feel so secure when he's running things. And Cena's amazing. He's a true gentleman. He's really kind, very, very hard worker, right? And this has been one of my favorite experiences doing Peacemaker. So have you started season 2?
Yep. Yeah, I've already caught up to all the episodes.
So I think the next episode is on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there's a cool surprise in that episode.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that series. Like I said, I think it's just great because my love of the comic books. I love the fact that they're bringing that into the DC world and stuff like that. Because spoiler alert if anybody hasn't seen it, Lex Luthor's in the episode before that. So you got Nicholas Hoult. So I love that they're bringing in that world. Cool, I love that it's James Gunn. We have the Trauma guys. Obviously he works on Romeo and Juliet. So I love the fact that the things are doing good for the Gunn.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, Lachlan, thank you so much, man. Absolutely. Thanks and Infernos. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you. We're going to let Lachlan get back to all of his fans, and we will talk to him again, and we will see him soon. First and foremost, and the final thing here is, Lachlan, what's most important, of course, myself and Devil, is that you enjoyed your time, you felt respected, you liked the questions that were asked, and in any way, shape, or form, maybe we could assist in continuing to help get your name out.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. Be good. Take care. Make sure that you're checking out Peacemaker and everything that Lachlan's got coming up with Scary Movie 6. Take care. Be good to each other. We'll be back in a bit. Horns up. Fangs out. It's all about that one job. Fangs and Infernos, we love you guys. We really appreciate all the love and support you give to us, but more importantly, we love and the fact that you support, go out and watch movies and hang and keep in touch on the socials of all of the people that we love to talk to. Tiffany Shepis, thank you so much.
What's up? The Vampire and Devil podcast, my second favorite podcast in the entire world. You heard it.
Patent pending.
Number one
Who's number one?
maybe Adam Green's one.
That's a hot third.
Okay.
Number one,
Take-
my podcast,
Exactly.
Casualty Friday.
Yes, absolutely.
What us at Casualty Friday are huge fans of the Vampire and Devil podcast.
And we love Casualty Friday. So many casualties.
So many on every Friday.
I know, exactly. So we're going to bring a few of you back from the dead a little bit. So first and foremost, New Jersey HorrorCon, how's it been treating you? It's been a good time. And
It's been a good time. I love New Jersey. I mean, obviously, Tromaville was born and raised in New
Yep.
Jersey, right? It's where all the toxic dumps in the world are. No, I love New Jersey. I'm from New York originally, so just my little brother and sister right next
Yeah,
door.
there you go.
So anytime I get a chance to come back, especially for New Jersey HorrorCon, I will.
I mean, going back to Tromaville, I mean, how much do we love Uncle Lloyd?
Everybody loves Uncle Lloyd, and how cool is it that we finally have a big budget studio Toxic Avenger?
Yes,
Avenger,
absolutely.
And for those out there that don't know, on the Blu-ray re-release and the streaming, there is a Tiffany Shepis Toxic Shock with Tiffany Shepis special feature for the new Toxie, which is really, really cool. You guys should watch it. It's a lot of fun. It will give you some trauma-rific memories.
Oh, nice.
And I got to ask you straight up, like, talk a little bit about Tales of Halloween. I love that movie so much.
Dude, Tales of Halloween's so fun. But like, first of all, like, I love all like horror anthologies.
Yep,
Uh,
same.
but-
Big Trick or Treat fan.
Big Trick or Treat fan, but also in Halloween or Tales of Halloween, I act in my scenes with another Trauma alumni, Mr. Trent Haga,
Yep.
and my daughter Mia is the one who is the little witch who stabs him in the beginning.
I love Killjoy.
So so fun, so fun. And then if you like Tales of Halloween, you should also watch Deathcember, written and directed by another Trauma alumni, Michael Verratti. And our segment is All Sales Fatal. So it's what happens when holiday shopping goes horribly wrong. So you have to watch it.
And there's peers and colleagues also all around you. Of course, you're part of Sharknado.
I
Tara
am.
Reid's been close by this
Tara
weekend.
Reid is here this weekend. I was also in Ouija House with her.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
so
would, for sure. Sitting
there's-
right on my shelf.
look at that. Yeah, we got the Goosebumps people here. Right next door to John O'Hurley. Did you know that he has hosted the International Dog Show
The dogs?
for 29 years? 29 years he has hosted the dog show. He is so good at introducing dogs that now I know about dogs that I didn't know about before.
Yep.
He
Everything,
started
just
that.
all the
He
ins
started
and outs.
all that when you were 3 years old, too, right?
All of that and more.
Yep.
And we're going to convince him to his first horror film.
Oh, there
that's
you
the
go.
way.
Look at that.
Absolutely, for sure.
So yeah, so the guests here are really cool. We also had a Night of the Demons reunion because Amelia Kincaid was here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was pretty awesome. I got to be in the remake for that, and she's here and she's dope and she's so awesome, and super nice and cool. So it's been a good show, super fun.
Absolutely, for sure. Devil,
Oh,
my
yeah,
friend.
yeah. Talk about, because we talk about, Adam Green a little bit. Talk about working with him in the Hatchet series, obviously with Victor Crowley.
Dude.
Talk about working with a guy who's like the in guy of nowadays with all the horror, bringing all the icons
Yes.
back into the horror thing.
No, Adam's great. I mean, I've been friends with Adam for years, and like we had always talked about doing projects together, and it never lined up. And then I did his Scary Sleepover segment, and we just had the best time. And he's just so fun to fuck with, and he knows so much about horror movies that you can just geek out. So when he asked me to do Victor Crowley, it was like a super secret project. Like nobody was supposed to talk about it. And I was like, how are you going to put me and Kane and Felissa and Dane, like all these people in this movie,
Who like
and
to talk.
expect us to not talk about it?
Right.
But we did. We all like held true. Like nobody spilled it, and it worked out because people love it. People love that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
We got to have Brian Quinn in it. It was his first
Oh,
horror
yeah.
film. He played my baby daddy, and I don't know, sad things happen. But I will tell you something.
Casualties.
I will tell you something. I did not die in that movie, and here's why. Let's think of this.
Okay.
All right, so the water's over my face. I'm there. It's only this much water. It's not really a big deal. First of all, they're so stupid. Why didn't they just like push some away to keep me alive? Or a
Drink
straw.
them.
Anything.
Seriously.
Right? Anyhow, at the time I'm about to drown, Crowley comes to the window on the other side. They all run over there. The plane would tip, putting the water away from my face.
Yep.
So maybe I was dead for a few minutes, but then I'm back alive. And at the end, Crowley takes me, brings me back to his little cabin. I am there. I have the baby. The baby's not totally right, kind of like Victor. So he loves the baby, raises the killer baby as his own, I have Munchausen by proxy syndrome, so I'm like obsessed with him, Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
Stockholm syndrome. So I'm in love with him now. Danielle Harris comes back, and now she's got to fight 2 fucking Victor Crowleys, and she thinks she's saving me, but I have to fight her because I'm like, no, this is my man. I love Victor Crowley now.
Adam
movie.
Green, get on it.
And you're going to have Danielle Harris in a movie and not expect her to talk about it?
Exactly. So that's the new movie. That's what we're doing. Adam doesn't know about it yet, but
You can have a backstory. Maybe you were a Navy SEAL and you know how to hold your breath for like 10 minutes.
I was a Navy SEAL. So there it is. There's the new Hatchet film coming out next year. I have written it. Adam Green's going to direct it. He doesn't know yet, but we're going to tell him. Maybe you've heard it here first on the Vampire and Devil podcast.
Producer credits.
Producer
there you
credits. Yep.
Absolutely, for sure. And the other thing that's also really cool about that is we were here a couple years back when Kane Hodder was here, and he
Yeah.
got the Icon Award for New Jersey
Yeah.
HorrorCon. That one of the things that was so cool is the way they designed those awards, and instead of having it look like a Jason face, they had it as Victor Crowley's,
So
which
cool.
I always thought was super cool because that was something they also addressed in the presentation, was that there are multiple Jasons, despite the fact that he's pretty universally known as the guy
Yeah.
and the preferred Jason. But there's only one Victor Crowley. There's only one actor who's ever been Victor Crowley,
it is pretty cool.
which is really
I mean,
cool.
and just the fact that I'm a horror fan from a little kid, and the Hatchet series really kind of spoke to like the '80s fun stuff that I loved, like that I grew up with, like really campy and silly and crazy and mega over the top. So Adam, and because he's such a fan, it shows through, right? Like, you know, anybody could go and make a horror film, you know, and people make them for money all the time, which is laughable because none of us make any money. But like, he is such a fan that you can't help but cheerlead for him.
Right, and it's also got that campy comedy to that series as well, because you've got that corporate sleaze factor of like the guy with the shitty like autobiography trying to take everybody's money and stuff
great.
like that, for sure.
Yeah.
But Devil, let's kick it over to you because we want to keep you on schedule, of course, to talk with Devil's questions, but also a little bit about just what you got going on.
Yeah, we're talking about like you were showing me. We're talking about Lloyd. I remember I was telling everybody this story, and it's a good one for you because you're talking about the independent films and stuff like that. First time I met Lloyd, I told him that he's my generation version of Ed Wood.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, that's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me. Because that's what I feel. How do you feel about like what that world of Lloyd and the craziness and kookiness and campiness of his mind?
Well, I mean, look, you can't watch any of the old Trauma movies and not see the genius in Lloyd pop through, right?
Yeah.
Like, and even if the movies aren't for you, from a pure marketing standpoint, the way he and Michael Hurst but really Lloyd, because he's like the face, the way they put that company together and created like legit a horror family, right? Like if you walk by a Trauma table, you could be the loneliest motherfucker on earth and you could be the ugliest and smelliest, and it doesn't matter, you are going to be embraced, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so he kind of created con culture before that was a thing. You know what I mean?
for sure.
Because, you know, I never saw that kind of camaraderie from anyone else at shows except for Trauma for the longest time. Now everybody's really inclusive and everybody's welcoming, right? But a long time ago, 20 years ago, it wasn't like that, except at the Trauma table. You could sleep at the Trauma office if you needed to.
Yeah.
You could, I mean, they're not going to pay you. You're going to eat cheese sandwiches, but hey, they're at least getting a cheese sandwich.
Exactly.
Right? So there's something like so magical and cool about the Trauma family. Right.
Yeah.
And then like being kind of the indie underdog for a long time, and seeing like ripoffs and stuff like that was always like disheartening.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see them finally, like somebody was like, "Oh man, we went to a Trauma event the other day and the line was around the block for Uncle Lloyd," and you're like, "That's cool. That's cool." So yeah, I started with Trauma.
That's how it was at Fright Reads.
He was just at Fright Reads.
That's awesome. You know, they made my first movie. I was a 16-year-old idiot, and the statement is true. Everything I learned about filmmaking, I learned from the Toxic.
Oh yeah, and speaking of that too, especially because I'm the devil and I love my sin and my skin. Talk about like, you know, obviously you can see some of the photos. Talk about being able to just express yourself and openly with your body and stuff like that. As far as taking photos, not afraid of like showing off any of that kind of stuff. Talk about that part of the industry.
Dude, I mean, I was fortunate enough to grow up making these movies, doing conventions with, you know, the likes of, you know, really rad women like Brink Stevens, you know, and Carolyn Monroe, and, you know, these just kind of really Amelia Kincaid, women that really like embraced their sexuality and the fact that they were cool and tough and like all that whole package, rather than like, oh, I just have to be like feminine and pretty and timid and, you know, run away from danger, right? Like these were like the Julie Strains of the world that were like, I'm a fucking beast, right?
Linnea Quigley has a lot of that.
She
in
does
her.
too, yeah. Like Debbie Rochon, like there's just a lot of women that I grew up going to conventions with when I was starting out, but they were kind of a little more seasoned, right? Like had been around longer, and I was like, oh man, like that's what I like. That's cool. That's like just being able to embrace whoever you want to be. And I thought a lot of those women did that, and I feel like the genre allowed that for a long time before it was modernly hip to do so, right? Like now every movie has like a really badass female heroine, which is how it should be. But it wasn't that way forever. We were always looking at douchebag guys like to save the day, but not in indie horror films.
No, not at all. There is also one thing I want to touch on real quick, of course, before we let you go, and because I think it's like also very important to put it out there, and I'm just kind of choosing my words as like carefully based on, of course, what you would like to talk about, but you are quite the advocate for, you know, protection for the young people when it comes to like violence and stuff like that. You've always been a very, very positive advocate for that kind of protection. We'd love you to talk a little bit based on your comfort level on what you do in that world.
Yeah, so we anyone who's a remote fan or friend of mine knows the story of what happened to our daughter, and she was shot at a school shooting. And from that minute on, we became really big advocates against, I mean, obviously against gun violence, but violence in general, but specifically making sure that people that have a firearm lock it up safely. Keep them away from kids. Keep them away from somebody in crisis, right? It's the number one leading cause of death of children in the United States, and it doesn't have to be that way. And the number one reason why is it's often accidental. Right? It's a little kid that gets a gun, and guess what? They look like fucking toys. So if you're listening to this, you even remotely like me, even this much, or if you just love the podcast, it has nothing to do with anything that you think your rights are. It has to do with just keeping a kid safe.
Well, yeah, because you have that organization with the trauma where you're helping out people who are trying to go to college and stuff like that, that don't have the necessities or the ability to, you know, be funded for people who have gone through that stuff.
Yeah, well, and here's the interesting thing. If anybody has ever gone through a violent crime like that, there are victims advocates in every single state. Not a lot of people know about this. And I know this, we went from like a fun interview to like a serious topic, but guess what? That's it. That's how we do this. It's the horror family, right? And so if you've gone through something like that, always like Google search, do you have a victims advocacy group in your area? Because there's often things that'll pay for some of your medical. There'll people that can pay for you to take a taxi cab to get to your doctor's appointment, stuff like that. You know, and always dial 988 for some mental health help because we all need it. Don't feel shame in it. I'm not a medical professional by any means, but we really just want to make sure people are safe and take care of themselves and take care of your neighbors. And guess what? Just because you teach your kid how to handle a firearm, right? Just because you go, oh, my kid knows how to do it, his best friend may not. The kid that comes over for a play date may not. Your grandkid may not, right? Like, so it's always not just about you and your person. It's about who has access to your home. And we just want to keep people safe and happy so we can keep making the violence for fake. Fake violence in cool movies and, you know, leave it there.
Every child grows up playing cowboys and Indians. So it's simply about the proper education.
That's it. Proper education and just keep the real things away and out of the hands of people that intend to do harm to themselves or others or a kid that wouldn't know any better.
Exactly.
That's my public service announcement.
Devil, anything final from yourself, my friend? Tiffany, we love you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, I love you guys. And thank you for the support, for fighting the good fight to keep us all happy and healthy and our horror hearts full.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fangs and Infernos. He's Devil. I'm Vampire. More importantly, she is Tiffany Shepis. We'll see you guys soon.
The Devil Inferno Devil podcast is now taking place at Casualty Friday. It's my number one.
Oh, it's number one. You hear that?
Number one. Number one.
Yeah.
Horns up. Fangs out. All right there, Fangs and Infernos. Welcome back. Of course, always happy to have you. Thank you for supporting what myself and, of course, the Devil do with our show. But more importantly, thank you for supporting the artists that we get to talk to. And we're going to continue on with that and have a little bit of fun. The legendary Mr. John Russo. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us a little time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, of course, you know,
both myself and Devil are Night of the Living Dead fans. I am a huge Return of the Living Dead fan, so I was very appreciative to get you on my movie. But talk a little bit about how that Pittsburgh zombie world came together for you.
Well, George Romero, Russ Streiner, and I met when we were 18 years old, and George grew up in New York City and came to Pittsburgh to go to Carnegie Institute of Technology, Carnegie Tech, which is now Carnegie Mellon. He was a fine arts major, and he met our mutual friend, Rudy Ritchie, who I graduated from high school with. And Rudy told me, he said, you have to meet this really great person. We're standing in line wearing our freshman beanies, and we're both fine arts majors. And when we're supposed to be drawing the nude model, George is drawing scenes from Ben-Hur. And he's going to paint Spartacus on my bedroom walls, and my mother's going to let him do it. So I thought that was great. You know, I always tried to be friends with the zany and unique people.
Absolutely.
Straight up and down crowd. And so that suited me fine. So when I came home for Christmas vacation, hopped in Rudy's convertible Plymouth. We drove to George's apartment. Rudy honked the horn, and George came down to the street wearing a big sombrero, 2 bandoleros full of ammunition, 2 pistolas on his hips, and a big drooping black mustache. Well, we're way too cool, he comment. He jumps in the back seat, and we take off to go to a Dairy Queen store and get ice cream. And when we got there, the girl slammed the window shut and wouldn't wait on us. We just laughed and moved on to somewhere else. Rudy said, you should have seen him last week. He was covered in tinfoil head to toe. That was because the reason he was wearing the Mexican garb is because one of his favorite movies at the time was Viva Zapata, starring Marlon Brando as Emilio Zapata. He and Pancho Villa were the 2 leaders of the Mexican Revolution. So, and the reason he was covered head to toe in tinfoil was there was a science fiction movie where the extraterrestrial was a metallic kind of person. I can't think which movie it was, whether it was Invasion Earth. It was one of those. I think it was a Michael Rennie movie. Anyway, so that was how I met George. And then we went to see a play that Russ and Rudy were in. I mean, I went with Rudy and met Russ Streiner, and here George comes walking in, and he's carrying this very ornate Victorian cane and wearing a cloak, heavy cloak. And he's dressed like that because he's playing the villain in a Victorian melodrama that was being staged at the YMCA in downtown Pittsburgh. So we all met right then, all 18 years old, and we've been friends ever since. Of course, George passed away in 2017.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also congratulations are in order because you and the camp are collectively coming up on the 40-year anniversary of Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, and I'm going to be at the Return of the Living Dead reunion, Living Dead weekend in Pittsburgh, same weekend as Chiller Theater. And Russ and the other Night of the Living Dead people that are still alive, some of the dead ones might show up too.
Yeah, perhaps.
At Chiller. So,
no, absolutely.
Anyway, I'd rather be at Living Dead weekend in Pittsburgh because for one thing, it's only 20 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think it's a really great movie. I think it's much better than Dawn of the Dead. It's much better than anything. It's really good.
Honestly, I'm a big fan of Return of the Living Dead, because I told you that yesterday, but also I honestly do mean this too, because I find that of zombie movies that came out at that time in that overall kind of era, it's aged really well from the soundtrack to the performances to the style of dress. The concept of this is a way of life. This isn't a costume.
I watched it once in 1985. I didn't work on the movie. I was the one that put the deals together and made it happen.
Yeah.
But then the distributors said, can't make straight horror, which was my scripted novel. They said you got to turn it into a comedy because straight horror is dead, which is never true.
Right.
You come up with a good idea, suddenly it's alive, you know. Anyway, so I then had to novelize O'Bannon's rewrite. So I'm in Pittsburgh doing that, and they're in LA making the movie because the novel had to come out the same day as the movie.
Oh.
So that's why I wasn't in LA working on the movie. And I didn't see it again until last year at a state-of-the-art movie theater just refurbished, you know, in Michigan. And they showed, Russ and I were guests, and they showed, I had a double bill, Night of the Living Dead and Return of the Living Dead, so I watched them both with the audience. First time I had seen Return of the Living Dead since 1985. And I was struck again in a big way with how good that movie is. It's just great. And, you know, I knew when the movie was made, I knew not Craig Gallagher, but the other guy. Why am I drawing a blank? I know. You know, the other guy, the two cemetery parlor guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
I think is his last name. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on it. Can't you think of
I know.
it?
I'm
James Cameron.
James.
Yeah,
Jeremy
James Cameron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
I was like, I knew his
I was like,
last name was a girl's name. I'm like, wait, I'm thinking,
Well,
it's Karen.
yes, Karen.
Jerry, I'm kind of distracted because I'm at this show, you know. But anyway, Jimmy narrated. We did a documentary about the days of the drive-in movies, the people that were in them, the people that made the movies, and all that. And it was called Drive-In Madness, and Jimmy Caron narrated it, so I knew him from then. And much later, now I know all of them, you know.
Yeah.
But Lou Gallagher and I became great friends too. Much later on, and anyway, they just did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Devil?
Yeah, I mean, even like you talk about it, even on your banner, you talk about
And horror comedy, I made one of my best movies on a low budget, but it's really good. My Uncle John is a zombie.
Yeah.
And I play the lead role. I wrote it. I play the lead role, and I co-directed because I needed a co-director, Rob Lucas, because I'm on camera most of the time. And I wrote 3 of the songs, and 2 of them I sing as a zombie. And it was a lot of fun to do all that stuff in one movie. And I got good reviews on everything, including the singing. I used to sing with an R&B group when I was in college and high school. So, and then I kind of abandoned that to do movies and books. So,
Yeah.
You know, but now I'm kind of back to it.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like, you know, what do you think, you know, being, like, you know, one of the innovators of the zombie genre, what do you think about, like, the newer zombies now? Like Walking Dead, Shaun of the Dead, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, George hated Walking Dead. And I met those guys when they were just doing comic books.
Yeah.
Their comic books were a total Night of the Living Dead ripoff. That's why George hates them. I never watched any of it. I don't watch almost any of it unless there's a special reason. I like Shaun of the Dead a lot, another horror comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I have a reason, otherwise I stay away from other people's stuff because I want my stuff to be unique. I don't rip out anybody off.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I want my own ideas to be what I work with. So, and I don't have that much interest in it. I mean, I watch a lot of MSNBC, and I keep up with what that son of a bitch in Trump is doing because I can't stand the motherfucker. And, you know, I mean, he's wrecking our democracy, and I knew he was going to do it, and I wrote a book about it. It's called Trumped Up.
Yeah.
And I self-published it in 2016 before he was even elected, but I was really afraid that would happen. And now it's worse and worse and worse. I don't know if we'll ever go back to the democracy that we were intended to be.
Yeah.
It might take us 50 years or never. He's doing so much damage. And by the way, George and Russ and I were all on the same page about all of that. So we did a lot of, before we became feature filmmakers, which was our goal, we did a lot of political campaigns, local, state, and national. So we have a lot of experience with that. And when you do the campaigns, you're in on everything. You get a good look into what politics is all about. Some people go on Facebook and go, "Oh, sticker making movies, John. Well, how about shoving it up your ass? I'll do what I want." Yeah, I know more than
For sure.
you. We're all supposed to. You know what Pericles said in Athens? Athens was the first democracy. He said, when a man says that he takes no interest in politics, we don't say he minds his own business. We say he has no business even being here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, you know, even with a lot of that
Politics
stuff,
is how we live, how we run our government.
yeah, I mean, a lot of that politics stuff is all in, like you were talking about with that,
I mean,
Georgia stuff. It's all
90 million
all of that
people
time.
didn't vote. That's what helped
Yeah.
Trump get in there. Oh well. What else?
No, absolutely. And so you talked about, you know, your independent film here to continue with horror comedy, but what also can you tell us about like other projects that you got going for the rest of this
right
year?
now, I have Dustin Ferguson's in LA, and he's made about 100 movies. And he got in touch with me, and he just loved Midnight. So he asked me if he could write and direct Midnight 3. And I made a deal with him. And we raised enough money to get me paid on that. And then he's going to finance the movie and do it. So it's going to be made for sure, right? Pretty soon. And then, and so he's going to write it. I actually had a script, which I sent him in case he wants to use some of those same ideas. So I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I'm helping him cast it and so on. And then Spawn of the Living Dead is going to be directed by Annie Kidd Wolf, who's a friend of mine now, because she's been trying to raise the money for that. I wrote it, and she's going to direct it. And so we have in it so far Michael Berryman, Kane Hodder, and Bill Moseley, and two mainstream actors that I can't think of their names right now, but it's already publicized all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to start shooting around January. So.
nice.
And then I have movie that I really want to do is a sequel to Uncle John. Uncle John is a zombie, and it's Uncle John runs for Congress, and it satirizes the hell out of Trump and his whole crooked administration.
Yeah.
So that's what I really want to do.
No. Absolutely,
But I
for
need to
sure.
raise money for it.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. But John, we really appreciate some of your time, and we hope that, you know, New Jersey Horror Con has been a nice experience for you so far. So we definitely want to, of course, allow the fans and people to be able to come over. So Devil and I are going to vanish for a little bit. But again, thank you for everything you've given us so far, and we look forward very much. Oh, absolutely. And we look forward to your upcoming projects so we can continue to watch everything you're involved in. And Devil and I always feel very strongly that, you know, that you enjoyed your time on our show, and that, you know, you felt respected and proper, and just genuinely enjoyed yourself. So we really appreciate your time.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Fangs and Infernos, as well. Make sure that you're supporting John in all of his upcoming projects, and make sure that if you're unfamiliar, that you're getting back to watching the incredible movie Return of the Living Dead that myself loves so much, and of course Night of the Living Dead and everything that he did with George Romero. Because remember, Fangs and Infernos, we did that entire episode just on George's filmography. But we appreciate John's time. We're going to let him get back to doing his thing. Of course, he's the devil, I'm vampire, but more importantly than that, he is John Russo. We appreciate you guys. Horns up. Fangs out.
Fangs and Infernos, it is so great to see you guys. We're at day 2 of New Jersey HorrorCon, and we're kicking it off nice, hot, and heavy, just the way we like it. Of course, we've got the devil, we've got your beloved vampire, but most importantly, we've got Caroline Williams.
Yes, your favorite final girl.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for giving us some of your time this morning.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, how was the first day of New Jersey HorrorCon treating you? It looked like you had a lot of happy people coming to meet you.
A lot of happy people, wonderful photo ops. We had such a good time. It's an incredible room. There's so many brilliant actors, directors, writers, special effects artists. I mean, and Joe Bob. I mean, come on. He's like the cherry on the cake.
Yeah, there were a lot of people we noticed at the end of the con yesterday that were making their way over to get photos and last minute pictures and stuff with him as well as Darcy.
Yes.
You know, because of course Darcy's Darcy.
Listen, they're faves. They're faves.
Absolutely.
They're faves of mine.
Of course. And speaking of faves, I'm going to jump right in on this one real quick because it was fun to really spark some excitement for you with a fave of yours, a fave of mine, and you were in Veronica.
Veronica, oh my God, it was the best. Look, I'm a huge Glenn Danzig fan, huge Misfits fan, huge Danzig fan. His producer on Veronica, James Cullen Bressack, is an incredibly talented producer and director and writer and creator. And I'd never had a chance to work for him before. And of course, how often do you get to live for even a minute on Planet Danzig?
Yeah.
And I thought, I called James on the phone and I begged him, James, I am begging. I don't care what you have me do. I'll bring sandwiches as long as I'm on camera for a few seconds and Glenn is directing me. Whatever you can make happen, please make it happen. And he did. And I got to play opposite one of my favorite creators, Kansas Bowling of Cuddly Toys. I did. I co-starred in Cuddly Toys for her, which is a wonderful, very avant-garde film. And it was just a wonderful one-night experience. That was it. It was like having a wonderful love affair. And then you leave early in the morning and you're walking the streets of Paris or, I don't know, maybe New York. And I have wonderful memories of it. Yeah, it took a lot of punishment in the press, but I was thrilled.
For sure. And you also talked that you got to go and see the Misfits not long after you were in the movie or shot your scenes.
We got invited. Misfits were appearing at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. That's 40,000 people. And to see the band, the original band, because Jerry Only was touring with them at the time, to see the original band. And he's running through all the lyrics, Vampira, the whole thing. And, you see it with a lot of bands. They'll sing a line and then they'll, point to the audience. To hear an entire audience singing back to him, that is power. That is power. And it was just, we were right stage side. We were right there. It was unbelievable.
And it's just kind of a cool question, and then Devil, go ahead and take it away after this. You mentioned the song Vampira, which of course is fantastic, and we all love Vampira. Did you have a relationship in any way with her when she was still with us?
No.
From paths crossing or anything?
She died, gosh, I can't remember what year she died, but I think she died before I even made it out to Hollywood in '86. But she's got a beautiful grave marker in Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which I can only hope for, because to buy a plot in Hollywood Forever Cemetery is going to run you about $1 million. But, she was obviously very revered, and she was the inspiration for Elvira.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And they had that famous lawsuit,
Yeah.
which she lost. But, she lives on in the minds and hearts of horror fans. She continues to provide an enormous amount of inspiration for filmmakers. So, God bless her.
No, 100%. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if just even before your professional career had taken off, just wasn't sure if you had paths crossed. And since that song came up, Absolutely,
Yeah.
for sure. Another person we love, Devil. Take it
Yeah,
away.
yeah. And like what we do, we do a segment where we talk about better sequels and stuff like that. And I know a lot of it's controversial, but we're going to talk about it anyway. We put it up that Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a better sequel than the original. Talk about working with that, working with Dennis Hopper, working with Bill Moseley, and just being in such an iconic film. To me, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is my favorite of all of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Agreed.
You are so sweet to say that. I see them as like a sandwich cookie, with Toby being the sort of sweet and bitter filling in the middle. You know, the original Toby intentioned the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be a comedy. He thought it was funny as hell, and obviously nobody else thought of it that way. So he did Chainsaw 2 as a balls out comedy.
Yeah.
And you know, and if it weren't for the infamous legs apart chainsaw seduction scene, it might have gotten a bigger release, because we were released unrated. And, you know, movie theater owners, it's like this with unrated films. So, you know, it did not have the opening weekend that you would have wanted. Back in the 80s, the opening weekend wasn't as decisive, partly because there wasn't as much. VHS was only beginning to come out. Cable television was only beginning to build its audience. So you had to rely on the movie theaters. And, you know, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. But at the time, I thought this movie's not, you know, I moved to LA after it opened. I thought this movie's not going anywhere. And now here we are 40 years later. We're going to have our anniversary next year. You know, my relationship to the original, we're Toby's OGs.
Yeah.
And the only additional Chainsaw film that I would really comment about would be Marcus Nispel's version that Toby produced with Jessica Biel. That was a high quality, great film where Texas was still a character in the story. And many of these other incarnations shot in Louisiana, shot in Bulgaria, you know, Texas is its own character in Toby's world, in the world of Tobe Hooper, in the universe of Tobe Hooper. So I hope whoever wins this next incarnation will show some respect for the great state of Texas and let her influence flow through the heart of the film. I think it's the only way they're going to find something that's creatively and box office wise rewarding for the audience.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially like, you know, like that when you're doing that, you know, I don't know what time of a year you filmed it, but you have that extra space of that Texas heat. You know, dealing with all that kind of stuff, it brings in that extra character, like you said, just being in that Texas atmosphere at the time making that film. And like you said, plus like, you know, you're doing all the running, you're doing all this stuff like that, you're wearing like doing things like that. You're working with, you know, like you said, with Dennis Hopper running around with the chainsaw and stuff like that. So
when we were shooting the interiors of the underground lair, the temperatures reached between 110, 120 on any given day. And at one point, a corner of that studio, they created an interior studio out of what was the old press building for the Austin American-Statesman. It's a 3-story industrial construction, the size of the room we're inside right now. And Carrie White, a genius of art direction, created that underground lair. And he sprayed gunite all over the interior, and then he literally decorated every single square inch of that interior. He created tunnels, he created dioramas, he created worlds within that world. And it provided so much inspiration for us as actors, because we literally were trapped inside for hours and hours and hours. But it was a wonderland. It was a weird, demented, bloody version of Oz. And I felt like Dorothy. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I get emotional. I owe everything to Toby and Kim Henkel and Kit Carson and the original cast and crew from the original film. I owe them everything because here we are today, and we're still talking about it 40 years later. So, yeah. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, and then talking about some of the other franchises, and another one we love, working on the Leprechaun and being in the Leprechaun movie with Warwick Davis. Talk about your experience on doing that, and talk about that character, because that character is such a fun character that you've got to play in that.
Leprechaun 3, my favorite movie in the franchise.
I absolutely agree. When I read the script and I saw how Loretta got to change and saw what happened to her at the end, I thought, oh my God. This is a roller coaster ride for the ages. And I loved meeting Brian Trenchard Smith. I wouldn't find out until later that one of his primary fans is Quentin Tarantino. He made a documentary about Brian being an Australian filmmaker called Not Necessarily Hollywood. And it's about the films of Brian Trenchard Smith because he really is an incredible seminal filmmaker. Always has done low budget, making it look like a gazillion dollars.
Yeah.
And, we were all so dedicated to the film, most of all Warwick Davis, because Warwick, he's a little person, but he is literally encased in latex and a mask and costuming. And he's got to move fast every single minute of the film. It was hugely challenging for him. And I know in my scenes with him, I wanted to be as economical as possible. And we were shooting film. We weren't shooting digitally. Those weren't the days.
Yeah.
So you've got to be on your game. You've got to know your lines. You've got to know your marks. And you've got to be on your game. And because we didn't want to exhaust Warwick, but every moment of I've had so many adventures in the movies being an actor, that being one of the primary ones, and the satisfactions once again all these years later of the fans discovering the movie again.
Absolutely.
All these young people and kids, for God's sakes, people discovering the movie again, and its humor, horror humor. There's nothing like it.
Not at all.
And just brief shout out to Adam Green with Hatchet 3. Nobody writes horror humor horror comedy like Adam Green. But John Auerbach, who wrote Leprechaun 3, no, that was Stepfather 2. I have a resume riddled with Roman numerals. The guy who wrote Leprechaun 3 did it justice. Because it's so loaded with laughs.
It really is.
I
mean,
loved
Vegas
every minute.
alone being the place it took place in just adds to
I know.
that.
And the thing is, the budget was so low. They all drove to Vegas. They shot throughout the night, and then they came back. And they just did guerrilla style shooting in front of the casinos because they didn't have permits.
Right.
And guerrilla filmmaking at its best. It reminded me of my beginnings. I wasn't there, but just hearing about the adventure of it all. I mean, it's,
And then before I give it back to Vampire real quick, because I am the devil and I love my sin and skin, talk about working with Jeremy Saffer and doing that Daughters of Darkness.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought him up. The guy is a genius. He's a visual genius.
Jeremy's
One
amazing.
day he will make movies. One day he will direct movies. I'm convinced of it. I met him at Rock and Shock, which was, for the ages. Now, Ice9 Kills owns it, and it's called something else. But
Silver Scream.
Silver Scream. I was at Rock and Shock. My career was on I didn't know what the fuck was going on with my career. I was getting divorced. It was a weird place in life, but Jeremy wanted to photograph me. And the shots he got of me, I looked at him, I went, oh my God, is that me? Because it showed somebody inside that I thought I had lost touch with. And Jeremy has always seen me in a way that I didn't see me. And he said, I know you want to reboot your career. I know everything happening in your life. I think we can make magic. Do you want to do corpse paint? And I was 59 years old. totally nude.
Yeah.
I'd never appeared nude in any movie. I had never done any of that. Other actresses, yes, not me.
Yeah.
I thought, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And he just awakened a world inside of me that I didn't know was there. And we shot for 10 hours that day. And we shot a lot of different varieties of things. I still shoot with him to this day.
Yeah.
I got to use Greg Leitner, one of my absolute favorite makeup artists. The guy does everything. And it was an amazing experience, and it completely rebooted my career. I began getting attention again. People saw me in a completely different light, and I began getting to read for things and act in movies that I didn't think I would have been chosen for before. So it was wonderful, and to this day, you know, I think I've got something, a shoot coming up with him in the fall, further into the fall. Whenever he's back in LA, both of us have gotten so much busier, and but we will find that moment, because he's masterful. He's masterful.
Well, that's what I think, especially when it comes to that, because it's like you think about it, and you're like, okay, it's a book of, you know, pretty much nude women in corpse paint.
Yes.
And you're like, you know, to the most people, you'd be kind of prudish. But the way he shot it and the way it comes out, it's so just, it's art.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's entirely
definitely
artistic.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've got photos on my table of other characters that he convinced me to play. He knows how to bring things out in people.
Yeah.
And that's why I continue to say he will direct. He wants to move. He did our behind the scenes and our character portraits for one of my very favorite movies that I've ever done, called 10 Minutes to Midnight, where I play a vampire. And just masterful. I believe he will be able to do an incredible sort of avant-garde kind of film and direct it in his own inimitable style. Nobody sees the world the way he does.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because he's shot my friend Molly Haining, who's the singer and the main brainchild behind Living Dead Girl. I've interviewed her; she's fantastic. He's also shot Ash Costello. Myself and Mrs. Vamp are both
Love
big
Ash.
New Year's
Wednesday
Day fans,
13.
Wednesday,
and of course our collective friend Wednesday 13. He
Yes.
does regular work for that camp.
Yeah, Wednesday provided music, especially for our closing credits in 10 Minutes to Midnight. There is literally nothing I wouldn't do for Wednesday. Whatever he asked me to do, he invited me. He's written a song called All American Massacre.
Yeah.
And he invited me and Bill Moseley to intro the band when they played the Whiskey one year. And I showed up in costume and had the chainsaw and danced on stage like a go-go girl. I had an absolute ball.
It still might be
Even
my
the-
favorite Wednesday 13 record, the Skeletons record.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
the live stream that he did, when he did the live stream, you know, when during that time he had you guys on that and stuff like that. So I thought that was really,
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
We're both, Bill and I are both very, very big fans.
Yeah.
And, you know, Wednesday's been supportive of our career. We've certainly been supportive of his. And he continues to grow and change in all kinds of interesting ways.
Yeah.
And Wednesday 13, the band, they just get better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
I mean, they've grown exponentially. You know, they've had some personnel changes. I thought I was going to be disappointed. I was wrong. The band just gets better.
Kyle was amazing, of course, being Dean's son from Journey, but then bringing
Yes.
in Mike from Wasp with all of that history and experience that he has. And man,
Yes.
does Mike look the part.
Yeah,
It's
and-
just,
And
tremendous.
even like his really good friend with Roman, and when he decided to leave the band because he wanted to be with his wife,
Yes.
he got in our friend buddy Ash's from Devil Driver and all that.
Ash
So
is
we're like,
the guy.
he's like one of our
And
good
Devil
friends,
Driver is
so-
also one of my favorite
Yeah.
bands. And I love Dez.
Oh,
I
Dez is
love
amazing.
his wife.
His wife is
I call her
amazing.
Anastasia. I said, I call you Anastasia because you're so cool you need 5 syllables.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're remarkable, amazing people who've been over some mountains.
Yeah,
And
sure.
great bands.
And we saw footage recently of Dez after
Dez.
his fall, and that with shows he's done recently, and he looks like he's made a recovery. He sounds great. He looks healthy.
So we were really happy to see that.
They bounced back.
Yeah.
You know, Wednesday invited me to be backstage and hang out for New Year's Eve for Ozfest in 2019. So I got to see Ozzy. I got to see Marilyn.
Oh, nice.
I got to see Body Count.
I'm a huge Body Count fan.
I sat in the
Huge
arena
Ice-T guy.
watching their sound check, and it was just fantastic. And I got to see Rob Zombie, obviously.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a New Year's Eve for the ages. It was just for the ages. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. And of course,
Devil Driver was there.
Oh.
Wednesday was there. Yeah.
oh, it's just a giant family barbecue, just a giant reunion. It's
So
just so
great.
much amazing. And we don't want to take up too much of your time because you've been incredibly gracious, of course, but there's one more movie I want to touch on, another, part of my brethren, and that you were in Renfield with Nicolas Cage. So I have to ask a little bit about that because also I've become an incredibly big Nicholas Hoult fan because I think that he is just becoming an amazing character actor.
Warranted.
And I really, really love what Nicholas has been doing all the way back from, from Warm Bodies, of course, to Nux and Mad Max, and then on to not only Renfield, but then Nosferatu. Anyway, talk a little bit about Renfield.
Number 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Eastwood, I got to talk to him backstage. My younger son is a virtual lock for him. They look so much alike. It's incredible. My son gets told that all the time. Chris McKay, who's the Lego Movie guy, Tomorrow War, incredible director, right? Got the Renfield project, developed it. Universal Studios was the governing party, so to speak. I got to play an attorney named Vanessa to Ben Schwartz's character, and opposite Awkwafina. And I mean, 2 comedy masterminds. It was very intimidating. I never even got to see Nicolas Cage. Never even saw him. I had 3 really great scenes that I was thrilled with. And at one point during one of our takes, Awkwafina went off the book and she just went. So I came back and she came back. And we were like playing tennis with our dialogue. And the feeling inside of me, it's like a Roman candle went off in my heart. Oh my God, I get to do this. It did not end up in the movie. It did not end up in the director's cut. But it was a wonderful experience. And then the studio got a hold of it.
Yeah.
And God bless Chris McKay. He invited me to the production office. He said, I want to show you what remains of your performance in the movie. And basically it was about one line.
Yeah.
And I was crushed. But there were other actors who were cut out entirely, and they were bigger names than me. So, and it does happen. I mean, you're going to have that experience. So, I was bummed, but I'm glad I got to do it. I mean, big budget Hollywood movie. I was on the payroll for 10 days. I got to spend 4 days in New Orleans doing Mardi Gras. There are worse gigs.
Absolutely.
It's not breaking rocks.
It's like, oh, you poor thing. Mardi Gras in New Orleans.
And I have a wonderful relationship with Chris McKay. He is a truly remarkable artist, wonderful guy, good friend. I will work for him again in future. I know I will.
Absolutely. And one final thing, of course, for the Fangs and Infernos, please let them know what you can tell them about what you've got looking at for the rest of 2025 to 2026 based on what you're able to talk about.
I've got 2 movies that are going to be coming out next year. One is What Did You Do, starring Jonathan Stoddard. He's a new series regular on, I think, Great American Family. It's directed by Stephen Romano. I think we might be at South by. We're waiting to hear. And then Marrying Mary Martindale, which is, once again, a horror comedy directed by Joshua Lou Friedman. Had a great time on that film. I think people will love it. And I just finished a movie called The Gray. We shot in Croatia. I get to play somebody very, very
Nice. Absolutely. Well, Carolyn, thank you so
much. One more thing.
No, please.
the great and impressive Heather Buckley, The Life and Ghastly Death of Al Adamson. She produced it. She is doing a documentary of the making of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Oh, nice.
And I will be in it among many, many others that you will recognize. And that will be out next year as well.
Absolutely. Well, Carolyn, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for giving
This
us a
was
little
so
bit of your
fun.
time. That's always the biggest thing that matters to myself and Devil is that
I loved
you enjoy
it.
yourself, you feel respected, you felt your time was validated, and that we could be any type of a benefit to your continued success.
And there's nothing like talking about horror
Yeah,
except to go see it.
Yeah, there you
100%.
go.
Fangs and Infernos, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We'll be back later. We're going to have a little bit more fun. He is the Devil, I'm Vampire, but more importantly than that, she is Carolyn Williams. We will see you guys again real soon. Horns up.
Mwah.
Fangs out. All right, what's up there, Fangs and Infernos? As always, we are super duper stoked to hang out with you guys. We really appreciate all the love and support that you show our show, as well as the cons that we get to go to by you guys attending them as well. And most importantly, so much love and support for the people that are gracious and give us their time for a great conversation. That's going to start again right now. Bobby McFarland, first and foremost, thank you so much for some of your time today, and we really, really appreciate it. How is New Jersey HorrorCon treating you so far?
It's been awesome, super fun. I actually kind of like how it's set up. It's like just droves of people coming through and just circling around, and get to hang out and be friendly with them, you know, to my heart's content.
Absolutely, for sure. And of course, you are involved with easily the most dominant horror franchise that's out right now in the Terrifier universe, but also, how is it watching from your perspective the continued growth of the franchise, and also how did you get into stunt work?
It's shocking to see the growth. I mean, I didn't even know about the franchise until I got hired for 3, and then watching it, I was just like, okay, these are pretty awesome. And then being in 3 and then seeing it explode, it was just like, what is happening? What is happening right now? So that's been crazy. Getting into stunt work, I got into stunt work because I'm a martial artist. I studied 15 different martial arts, different periods of time. Did one martial art for about 30 years, 10th degree black belt in that martial art.
Wow.
And then I was an early adopter in New England of parkour, so I started parkour really early in its like inception. And I had all those skills, and I had always wanted to be a fight choreographer. When I was a kid, I wanted to be like, I was a 6-year-old who was just like, I want to be a fight choreographer. I was obsessed with Jackie Chan, had all of his movies. Yeah, I was. That's pretty much how I got in. A friend of mine was also trying to get into the industry, and he and I just linked up, started training together, and pushed our way into the industry.
Oh, very, very cool. Are you a horror movie fan, or do you find that action movies are kind of your first and foremost love when it comes to the film industry?
Oh, definitely action movies are more my bag, especially martial arts movies and comedies. I like horror in the comedy realm, like horror comedies and horror adjacent mostly. So like One Cut for the Dead is one of my favorite movies. Tucker and Dale versus Evil, amazing. But besides that, I don't watch too much of the horror franchises. I was very happy when I started watching Terrifier and seeing Art the Clown actually have like comedic beats. I was like, this is awesome. When he pulled out the gun, I was like, oh, that's great action, that's great comedy, that's great horror.
Yes, no, absolutely, especially because like of all of these crazy kills that he's doing with all these insane objects, to just have something as quick and clear as just a gun drawn and a victim taken off is pretty insane for sure. Devil, my friend, let's kick it up to you.
Well, you were saying, you know, being in the action and stuff like that. I mean, I know you mentioned Jackie Chan. Who else did you look up to wanting to get into that? You know, you said you're going to the fight choreography and stuff like that. What were the kind of action stars or action movies that you liked that inspired you to want to go out and do that?
I mean, obviously, Bruce Lee,
Yeah.
Jet Li, those are big ones. The other ones are probably less known to people outside of action, but Scott Adkins is like big one.
Yeah.
Actually, probably even less known is oh no, see, I'm terrible at recalling names off the top of my head. Eric Jacobus.
Okay.
Huge fan of his stuff. He has a lot of like YouTube short films. His short films are phenomenal. He like embodies what Jackie Chan did,
nice.
but in a modern way. He has a particular one called Rope-a-Dope, which is one of the best action short films out there.
Oh, nice.
To this day. So it's basically Groundhog Day, but as an action short.
Oh, that's nice. And you also said I mean, I know probably have seen this movie because I remember you saying that you talked about your love of parkour and doing all that. Were you a District B12 fan?
Of course.
That's the greatest parkour movie ever.
I hate to do this because you're trying to roll through a single thing. Can we pause? Because apparently they need me in there for a photo.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, no problem. Thank you so much, Fangs and Infernos. We're going to touch base with Bobby again a little bit later, but we're going to sign him off for right now so that he can do his thing. Horns up, Fangs out. It wouldn't be horror, it wouldn't be rock and roll, it wouldn't be action movies without a little bit of excitement, but that's just how everything goes. But we're right back with Bobby to continue having a little bit of fun. So Fangs and Infernos, we appreciate you guys so much. Devil, we're actually going to kick it right back up to you, man. We'll let you finish out this segment.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about the parkour and the B12, talk about that movie. I mean, as far as like, especially being a parkour guy, your thoughts about it and the fact that kind of movie, people who are into parkour, that was a kind of a movie to kind of bridge into that type of action.
So my first question is, are you talking about the original?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean
the French.
Yeah, the French one.
Yeah.
It stars David Bell. David Bell, founder of parkour.
Yeah.
So like, everyone in parkour was obsessed with that movie when it came out. It's an amazing movie. It's a great representation of parkour because David did it, so he wanted to do it authentically. So he did an amazing job. It's actually kind of disappointing that he didn't do more movies. But yeah, it's a great movie, and it was great for us to have representation in a movie because back then parkour had no one knew what it was. So yeah.
Let's say even with that, and even like adding martial arts, not as much parkour, but still had a lot of parkour in it. Mm-hmm. People like Tony Ya doing a lot of the stuff that he does, with all the stuff he's done. I just love the fact that, those are representations of a thing. And now, now everybody's doing parkour. You see parkour videos all the time.
Everywhere.
But yeah, I remember just watching that movie and just even seeing that one scene in the very beginning where he's the cops are coming after him. He has that little slit in the window, and he just goes, and you see the take of him doing that in real life. It was that's insane that he's bouncing off walls and has this small little window.
A friend of mine got booked on one of the procedurals. I don't remember which one it was. One of the FBI's, I think it might have been. But he got to do that exact same stunt through a gate, and I was I'm so jealous. I can do that gag. I want to do that gag in a show or movie. It's just a fun. It's just an undergarb. So yeah.
And then now adding on to doing the horror stuff like that. I mean, you're saying like that. Is there a horror figure or someone big that Michael Myers or Jason or Leatherface that you would like to tackle as far as doing that?
I mean, I never get to choose my job, so I don't even bother to dream about choosing a job because that's just not how it works. I mean, I'm happy to do anything. I actually, as much as I'm not a big watcher of horror, I love shooting horror. I love being in horror. I've gotten the chance to actually do some acting in a couple of horror movies recently, which are named NDA and NDA. I really love the genre for being able to perform it. I feel like it really actually fits my acting style really well. I can act evil characters really comfortably, and it's really fun for me to get to do that.
I feel like you, Doug Jones, and Jason Lyles need to get together and just. You guys need to just get together with them for coffee.
Yeah, especially with being like a stunt person too, because I'm a huge Zoe Bell fan. Like she was one of the first like people that I started following as being like a stunt person.
Yeah.
Because I love her stunt work, and then obviously her going into Quentin Tarantino and started doing more of the other side of the camera and doing the acting.
Yeah.
You know, what other you talk about stunt workers and stuff like that. Obviously, you talk about that. Were there stunt workers that you kind of watched and followed and kind of like wanted to kind of base your career off of too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that any of them would be recognizable names to most people, though. Yeah, there are a couple of guys who, I mean, even now there are guys in the stunt world who are doing things that no one else is doing that are amazing, and I feel like even though they're getting a little bit of fame and getting a little bit of exposure, it's not enough. They need more representation. Like I think one of the biggest ones for me right now is Felix Batcourt. He's an incredible stunt performer, and his choreography it's a very unique style, and it is beautiful. It's everything I want choreography to look like. I got to do a seminar with him not too long ago, and even just doing a one-day seminar with him changed my entire style of my own fighting and my own choreography. So he's someone I think people should be looking out for, and I think he's going to be in bigger and bigger things.
And then you were talking about, the acting and stuff like that. Is that something you want to kind of cross over? Someone like Kane Hodder and all that, who was known as a stunt guy, but now is kind of became a leading man. Do you have any, interest and stuff like that of possibly going on maybe on that side of the camera as yourself versus being a stunt?
It's one of those things that if it happens, I'll be totally cool with it. I do enjoy acting now. I actually, when I got into stunts, I was like, I'm never going to act in any way, shape, or form. I was terrible at it. And then stunts ends up being like, as you get more into it, you realize that acting is part of it. It's just a different style of acting. And then as I got further into that, and then I started getting a few like stunt acting roles, and I was like, okay, well, I have to act. And then I started like studying acting techniques. I actually came across a book. I really can't remember what it was called, but it had a really great methodology for approaching acting that completely changed my entire viewpoint of how acting worked. And I went from being so not confident, like I couldn't act my way out of a paper bag, to suddenly being like, oh, I get it. Oh, this changes everything. And it changed my acting overnight.
Nice.
And now I feel like comfortable. I'm not amazing, but I went from terrible to goodish, and that was a big leap. So yeah, I would take those roles if I got them, but it's not something like I'm actively pursuing or going after.
Yeah.
It's just
I'll tell you, Devil, I feel like Bobby's reaction to would love to double for Doug Jones might have been the answer to our dream job question.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a big fan of his in general, but also just
As are we.
Yes, he is my height and weight. I used to be actually even skinnier than I am, and I was dead on his height and weight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he would like that would be the dream double job. For me.
Yeah, we got to meet him at a different con, and he was so nice. Like
Yeah.
he was
That is
so
extra
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, he's
Like,
just
like on an epic level of like niceness, where he was like, he wanted to take photos with us, our girlfriends, all these different photos. He's like, I want to take a photo where all of you are touching my face. I now want to take a photo where I'm touching just the ladies' faces. It was amazing. He was such a sweetheart. I'm from Salem, Massachusetts, so obviously Hocus Pocus is kind of one of our Bibles and stuff like that. But of course, with Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, everything that like Devil's into, just meeting him with that amazing catalog was so cool to get to chit chat with him for a little bit.
Yeah.
But despite the fact you've got a couple of movies titled NDA and NDA there, Fangs and Infernos, anything that you can let the Fangs and Infernos know about what you have coming up, or just goals or plans for the rest of this year into 2026, we'd love to hear a little bit based on what you can talk about.
Based on what I can talk about, that's about it.
That's amazing.
Were you listening, Fangs and Infernos?
So I'm I've been lucky enough to get a good amount of work in the last couple of years. There's a lot of actors my height and weight who happen to be starring in things. So, some of the featured movies are this con, or maybe having prequels that are shooting now, and I got to be in them recently. There's a couple of new movies coming out that I got to be in. One I got to play one of the big baddies and got to actually flex some acting and look terrifying. And unfortunately, NDAs for everything. But
For sure.
yeah. So I've gotten to work on I think 4 different horror franchises just this year.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
So I'm not surprised that I'm kind of ending up in that niche because Slender Man here, but it's kind of happening, and I'm really enjoying it because the best things to work on are comedies and horrors. They're amazing to work on. So fun.
Absolutely. And a final fun little question from us. Do you ever get any kind of comedy chuckles out of action stars like a Jackie Chan that does their own stunts and you're like, stop making it so I can't work on your movie?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but also I don't mind an actor who does their own stunts if they can do their own stunts.
Yeah.
That's the key. We do have some actors who want to do their own stunts because they see the glory in it, but it's just that's fine, but I will make you look cooler if you let me just pretend to be you for a minute.
Yeah.
And then everyone will think you did it. It's fine. People aren't going to give us credit for it, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let me step in. I specialize in doing all the things that they want me to do in this scene. I will make you look cooler, and then you can just take the credit afterwards, I guess, because that's some of them do that anyway. There are very few actors, even actors who say they do their own stunts. Very few actually do their own stunts. Actually, Lauren Rivera is one of the very few who does most of her own stunts.
Yeah.
But even she, for various reasons, insurance, other things like that. Big bumps. Jenna Helmuth does her big stunts. So Jenna Helmuth went through that table, went over the other table, body slammed to the ground. She took those because they're brutal and we can't risk injuring the stars.
Yeah.
But Lauren was amazing. She crushed it through that entire fight. It was actually really nice to work with her just because she was so good at moving that I didn't have to treat her like an actress. I could treat her like a star. Just do it.
Very, very cool for sure. Well, Bobby, we know that you've got fans that you want to meet, and we really appreciate your time, but we'll see you throughout the weekend. But first and foremost, thank you for some of your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Fangs and Infernos, thank you guys so much. Make sure that you're supporting, Bobby and all of his upcoming NDAs and all of the fun stuff that he's got coming your way. We really appreciate his time. We will see you guys really soon. He's the devil, I'm Vampire, but more importantly than that, he is Bobby McFarland. We appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you soon. Horns up. Fangs out. All right there, Fangs and Infernos. We're coming towards the end of day 2 of New Jersey HorrorCon, but it's been absolutely fantastic. So much appreciation to Ryan for having us back out again. And we've been having a great time, and we know that the talent's been having a great time, and we're going to continue that on because one of the things that's so great about what Ryan does is he loves to do that focus on a big reunion, and this has been a great one for myself and Devil's childhoods, or at least maybe young adolescents, since he and I are respectively a few hundred years old. But we're going to talk a little bit to one of the members of the Goosebumps reunion, Amos Crawley. Thank you so much, my friend. It's a pleasure, and thank you for giving us some time.
It's my pleasure.
And of course, first and foremost, it's the Goosebumps reunion. You've got your peers, your colleagues, and friends lined up here with you. How do you look back at that series and your involvement in those episodes?
We were talking about it yesterday, and we were talking about the idea of a slow burn or something that comes on in a way that you don't necessarily expect. Like a really good hot sauce or something where it's it's not so hot at first and then it kicks your ass in a little while.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this feels like, because we did this thing 20, 30 years ago. We were kids. We all got along like a house on fire. We knew it was kind of cool. We knew it had a sort of popularity. But then you turn around and you realize that it has lasted and that it's become a tradition for people. And I was gobsmacked. And then all day for the last 2 days. We've been meeting people who have been so kind and so gracious, and it just feels really lucky and very cool.
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, like I've got the complete series of Goosebumps at home, and and you are also, involved in one still to this day as one of like the key episodes that they did with the haunted mask and things like that.
Yeah.
And even with the Funko Pop explosion, they did a haunted mask release as well. And also being involved with Goosebumps, of course, takes you to myself and Devil's, childhood favorite of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And also one of your episodes for that is highly considered a memory episode in the Ghastly Grinner, because everybody remembers that clown in their various scarring clown situations over their years.
Yeah.
So how do you look back at that? Because you and I were talking off camera about the difference between Nickelodeon then and Nickelodeon now, and even more so where you were talking about what the youth of the nation now is into, which isn't exactly TV necessarily.
Yeah, no, I think my kids spend more time watching YouTube and stuff than they do watching anything like that. I have forced them to watch some stuff because I can do that as a dad, and they're partially interested in it. But yeah, I think it's just a different culture now, and I think there was a time where when Nickelodeon was a new channel, and then in Canada we had a counterpart called YTV that did a lot of co-production stuff with them, and involved a lot of the same folks like Ron Oliver and guys like that. I think there was this kind of explosion of up until a certain point in the late 80s, there were 3 channels, right? Or maybe 4 if you counted Fox. And then all of a sudden you have things like Nickelodeon, you have YTV, you have this explosion of creativity from a whole bunch of punk rock and comic book kids who get to suddenly get a little bit of, a low budget TV show, a little bit of money in their pocket, and they're bursting with creativity and creating a new genre and a new thing. And that's probably true of the YouTubers, and I'm just too old to understand it.
Yeah.
No, for sure. When it comes to yourself back then as a young actor, of course, coming up in it, where there's always going to be that hunger and thirst for new jobs, new opportunities, and to build yourself up, into what they call your brand now. But back then, were you a horror fan? Because doing Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark in a very close proximity to each other, which are, horror campfire story based shows, was that intriguing to you? Were you a fan of the genre?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the generation that read Stephen King when we were 8-9 years old. I'm the generation of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, and it was an omnipresent part of your life. And I think then those shows became the entryway drug for people 5 years younger than me, people 10 years younger than me. But yeah, I had older siblings. I remember my sister giving me Night Shift by Stephen King when I was on set. I was shooting, I can't remember what it was, but I was 7 or 8 years old, and she's like, "Here, read this," and I did. And now I've turned out the way that I have.
Yeah, the well-adjusted adult that you've become, absolutely. Whether or not we may or may not have a soul from yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Devil, my friend.
Yeah, you're talking about especially with Goosebumps, that being the older generation at that time, and then now with Goosebumps coming kind of back out with Jack Black. What do you feel about that version of the Goosebumps and bringing out where kids might see this and be like, "Oh my God, I really love this movie. Oh, it was a TV series back in the day," and kind of bringing it back to you?
I think it's awesome. I mean, I think, nothing belongs to anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's out there and it's being enjoyed. And like I said, I have a 7-year-old who loves the books more than anything. That's his go-to for it. And I don't know. I just think it's cool. It's a pretty exciting thing to have fallen backwards into being a part of.
Yeah. And then also, being a part of something, we're going to talk about, especially with now Adam Sandler being as big as he was. Talk about working with Adam Sandler, especially on a low level with Billy Madison, kind of that newer Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Talk about your experience.
I guess he wasn't Adam Sandler
yet.
Though, I mean, I was a big SNL kid, and so I knew who he was, and I was pretty excited to work with him. Because we'd already done, Opera Man and the Lunch Lady song and all that. But he was the sweetest guy, and by all accounts, he still is. He was never a guy who was tucking away into his trailer or disappearing. He hung out with all the kids. He told us jokes. He stayed on set. and everybody on that movie was great. We got to hang out with Norm Macdonald. We got to hang out with Josh Mostel. Like, so many cool people. It was just a really special experience.
Oh yeah, speaking of that, especially because the fact that Adam Sandler at that time is in his in his 20s and so like that. You guys are very young kids, and him going into school and stuff like that. Have you ever got those reconnections with you being an adult now with Adam? You got to have that experience.
I haven't seen nor spoken to him, but I wish him the best.
Yeah.
I think he's doing okay.
Yeah, I would say. But talk about how with that, how did you get involved to get into that project?
I would have just auditioned for it. I remember the audition process. There used to be a place called the Fashion Building on Spadina Avenue in Toronto, and there was a casting house on the 7th floor. And I remember we went up, and I guess I don't remember the first round of auditions, but then for the callbacks, he was actually there. Like, he came in and read with everybody, and it was pretty easygoing and cool. And Tamara Davis directed it, who was married to Mike D from the Beastie Boys, and that was a big deal for me. I had actually seen the Beastie Boys that summer, so I got to badger her with questions about her husband, which I'm sure she loved. No, it was great. It was amazing.
And then it's obviously it's a different time period now, but for kids who want to get into filming, what advice would you give them, being a young actor, to go into, if they want to pursue something like that? What advice would you give them?
I would say go for it. Do what you want to do, and don't let your sense of self-worth be wrapped up in it in any way. Like, any kid who shows up in anything, or any adult for that matter who shows up in anything, it's because there's something like authentic and true about that person. And I think sometimes we can get deluded into the idea that there's a right way to do something or a right way to perform. And so I would always just say, like, learn the mechanics of it, understand that there are things about text analysis and things about framing that are important, and a lot of boring theory. But at the end of the day, there's something like about you that's the most interesting thing. It's always going to be the thing that's going to make somebody want to watch you. Yeah. If it's not in one project, it's going to be in another one.
Oh yeah, and then the follow up with that was that when you were such a young actor, was that something that you wanted to pursue as like at that, or you just kind of like randomly got into it?
I kind of fell into it, and then around my early teens, I'd already actually been doing it for a while, but that's when I sort of started dedicating myself to it a little bit more.
Okay.
But that was just dumb luck.
With Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and then right up to Billy Madison, how long did your hair stay long?
Oh gosh, I think it was long. It was long for like 2 or 3 years, and I remember when we were doing Are You Afraid of the Dark, they asked me to cut it, and I said no, and so I assumed that I wouldn't get it, and but they were gracious enough to let me keep it. But I did actually cut it for the next project I did, because it was a movie called Lives of Girls and Women that was set on a farm in like 1930, and there was no way I was going to get away with having long hair. So I actually went from that to a full buzz cut.
Oh wow!
Which I figure if you're going to do it, that's the way to go, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever go back to the long hair once you cut it?
I never like that. Never
Okay.
quite that long again. Yeah.
Once you got out of high school.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, for sure. And when it comes to like, now, being a parent and stuff, have your kids started showing any of the bug, or are they interested casually maybe?
My eldest is more into music. That's his thing. I think that if he ends up performing in any way, that's where it's going to live, and we'll see what happens. I won't discourage it, but we'll just see. Like, they're their own people, which is like kind of the frightening and exciting thing about being a parent, I guess.
Yeah,
Sure. And is there anything that you would change about, kind of the Goosebumps universe, if you could go back into that? Because, of course, you've got the books that spawned the show and right up to what Devil was saying with the Jack Black movies.
Yeah.
But is there anything looking back on that world, relationships with or without your peers that you maybe look back on that you would maybe change in any way?
I don't think there's anything I would change. One of the nice things about this sort of little reunion tour we're doing is that, like, Catherine Long is here, and I wish that we had seen each other more in the intervening 30 years, because it's so lovely to spend some time with her. But that's really the only thing I would change, is be better about keeping in touch.
No, absolutely. And of course, based on what you're allowed to discuss, can you let us know what you have going on for the rest of 2025 into 2026?
I've got a few episodic things that'll be airing in the next couple of weeks, and then I'm about to go and shoot something that unfortunately I can't talk about.
Of course.
It's called NDA?
Oh, the
yeah,
movie
I had
called
to- yeah,
NDA?
it's called NDA. Yeah, but you can keep your eyes peeled. I'll show up on a couple of network things in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely, for sure. Devil, anything final from
And
yourself,
then
my guy?
one last thing, because I want to talk about it. We just recently were at PA HorrorCon and Hannah Hall was there.
Cool.
Talk about working with the Virgin Suicides.
Yeah, I mean, that was talk about being a little bit starstruck. Like that was like Sofia Coppola that was her first film as a director, but you certainly know what that family is, what that legacy is.
Yeah.
But everybody was really, really nice. It was a unique shooting schedule because we actually shot like a couple of different characters, and I think in the end I only ended up being in a very small role in it, but I did actually spend a couple of days with everybody doing a few different roles before it got edited together. So it was pretty cool. The movie turned out okay.
Yeah. Was there a project that you were possibly going to, as a child actor, or even going into an adult actor, that you were looking into and almost had that role that you didn't quite get that you can mention?
I mean, a million of them, right? Like you come close on so many things. I always hesitate to talk about them because it's not like the people who ended up in them are fantastic. But yeah, I think you talk to any actor and we'll all have 5 or 10 stories of like, if only this one thing had changed.
Was there a White Rabbit though? Because usually when we talk about people, there was always that one movie that I was this close, but then blah 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 got it. That you're kind of like, oh man, I wish, not disrespecting the actor that got it, but like.
There were a few of them. I came very close to doing Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. I came very close to playing a part in Unforgiven, the Clint Eastwood movie, as a kid. Later in my life, I came very close to doing a Broadway show that had a big movie star attached to it, and I was so excited about it. And then they dropped out, and so therefore there was no, the funding for the show fell through. But, that's going to be true of everybody, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
everybody, maybe one day you walk down the street and you maybe missed meeting your soulmate or whatever, but then there's like another soulmate down the road. And I wouldn't change anything. And I certainly wouldn't change anything when I get to come to a place like this and meet a whole bunch of cool people who are just so gracious and kind.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And when your kids were growing up a little bit before YouTube took over your life, was there ever times that you were channel surfing and the Magic School Bus was playing and you stopped?
Well, more than that, they wheel it into the classroom during science class,
Oh.
and they would come home and they'd be like, "We watched this thing," and I would say, "Oh, I was on that." No, you weren't. And I'd have to prove it.
No, absolutely. Well, Amos, thank you,
Hey,
so
thank you so
much for
much.
some of your
Thank
time.
you so much.
We
I
really appreciate it.
Thank you, Robin, for having us.
Absolutely, for sure. Fangs and Infernos, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. Make sure that you're following Amos on his socials, but all of the upcoming NDA movies that he's about to take part in and all of that fun stuff. We appreciate his time, and we appreciate you guys. Take care. Be good to each other. Horns up. Fangs out. As always, he's Devil, I'm Vampire. But more importantly than that, he is Amos Crawley.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Fangs and Infernos, we appreciate you guys. We're going to rock out one more time. We're going to have a little bit of fun here to close out our New Jersey HorrorCon experience until the next one, and there will always be a next one. So we feel that there's only one proper way to do this, and that's bring in a boss killer to lop off some heads and spill a little bit of blood. So we're going to talk to Michael Myers. Brad Larry is joining us for a little conversation. Brad, first and foremost, thank you so much for some of your time.
No problem. We're happy to do it, guys.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit, of course, with it being a horror convention, Halloween Resurrection, one of your victims, professional victims, was not too far away in Thomas Ian Nichols, but let's talk a little bit about Halloween 8.
Well, he's the reason I came back to Edison. I was here in February, I think it was. And everybody on the cast has treated me like an equal, like an actor. I am just a stunt guy, but anyway, just a stunt guy. But anyway, but Thomas and I, he was the person I got closest to, and I was really disappointed that we lost touch. And then I got an email from Ryan saying, "Hey, Brad, do you want to come back to Edison? Because I got Thomas coming." And I said, "Sign me up." So I'm not saying he's the only reason I came back, but I don't like to do the same place even 2 years in a row, never mind in the same year. But it's been a great experience. You know, I got to meet John O'Hearley, and I make new friends in every show. And reconnecting with Thomas it's been fantastic. So it's been a really great show.
Oh, that's awesome. How does it feel for you personally, just, being involved as in the legacy of such an iconic, character in film?
Well, as I am not a horror film fan at all, but I happen to love the first two Halloween films. And when they called me into the office, I thought they were looking for a stunt double for Mike Myers, the guy that played Austin Powers. So when they said, "Oh, Brad, we're going to send you to LA to cast your head," I said, "I got to go to Los Angeles to double some Hummy actor." And at this point, I still wasn't going to take the job. I was doing it as a professional person. He says, "No. You're not going to double the guy. You're going to be the guy." And that's when I went, "Oh, this is a completely different ballgame."
Yeah.
And because I was working on a show for Fox called Lost Luchadors, and I was the stunt coordinator and the stunt double. It was a very lucrative job. They were coming back for the second season, and I wanted to stick there. But when they said, "You're going to play Michael Myers," the actor in me said, "You got to do this." And the rest is history, because Lost Luchadors went down in the middle of the third episode of the second season, and we've never heard from them since. And now here is 24 years later, and I'm still getting invited to come and hang out with you guys.
Absolutely.
So it's fantastic. It really is.
Absolute pleasure. And one of the other movies that you've been involved in recently is Devil and I are both fans of the Soska Sisters, and you did Festival of the Living Dead.
Yes, I was the large man who has a heart attack, and I don't know if I get eaten, but I collapse on one of the girls. And the Soska Sisters and I and Ken Kersinger were in a movie called Blackbird Asylum, and that didn't get a lot of press, but they're great ladies, and they're huge horror fans, of course, and it was an honor to be in their film. The end.
No,
story.
No, all good. Devil, my friend.
Well, you said before, that you're not particularly a horror fan. What were the movies that inspired you to want to do stunt work, or that kind of stuff? What got you into wanting to do that kind of work?
Well, when I was 13, I fell in love with Bruce Lee for the second time in my life. I loved him when I was 6 years old when he was Kato.
Yeah.
A phone on the floor over there. Anyway, so when I got into Bruce Lee, I joined the local karate school. The instructor at that time, this is June 1974, was a green belt named Tony Morelli, and he went on to be the World Karate Association Cruiserweight Kickboxing Champion. And because I was his protege, he dragged me along, and then he got into doing stand-in work and film work, and then the stunt guys took him aside and said, "Hey, we want you in our group." And he just dragged me along, and one day Ken Kersinger said to me, "Brad, get a picture and a headshot and a resume, and I'll take you around and introduce you to everybody you need to know." And he did. And because my love was always in acting. But I didn't have a lot of confidence, and my connections were with Tony and Ken. So I don't want to say I took the easy road, but I love it. I got to be in movies and everything. But I had always, since I was 6 years old, wanted to be an actor. So I still get starstruck, even around guys like Lockman, who I used to play hockey with, and Thomas, but anyway. So that's how I got into stunts. And I don't get me wrong, I have the great deal of respect for my stunt brethren, but I think they're all crazy. Because I wanted to ride the horse to the mark, get off and kiss the girl. They all want to get shot off the horse at 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Really? You're crazy. Anyway.
That's what's great about it, because you talk about these stunt guys that have kind of portrayed or known as stunt guys, but then started becoming more leading mans, like Kane Hodder, and that kind of stuff, where they started doing that. Is that something like you said, you were wanting to do with that? Is that something that you kind of still pursuing as far as as doing these kind of movies, like with you being with the Soska Sisters?
Well, I'm too beat up to do the hardcore stunts anymore. Yeah. And I one time I was the one of the number one stunt actors. Instead of hiring an actor who only has 3 lines and then he gets shot and goes down the stairs, you hire a stunt guy who can say those 3 lines. He makes more money than he normally would, and production saves more money than they normally would. So now that I'm 65, I would much rather do more acting than stunting, but I do belong to the prestigious stunt group Stunts Canada back in Vancouver, and a lot of the young coordinators are guys that I helped on the way up, I guess. I don't necessarily remember, but they've been very kind and very, very generous to me. And unfortunately, I've gained all this weight, so I need to knock a few pounds off and hopefully get back on the set one day. Because my first stunt was 1984, so last year was marked by 40 years in the business. So anyway, I'm not dead yet, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And like kind of like a fun movie that you were involved in, especially with, you know, his continued just ascension into the stratosphere is being involved in Tooth Fairy with The Rock.
Yeah. I was in a crowd in the hockey arena and someone got hit and they broke through the glass, as best I remember. But yeah, I'm very disappointed I didn't get to work on Walking Tall, because that was shot in Vancouver, but the coordinator was a guy who was a neighbor and a teammate, but because he was in one group and I was in the other, you know, I mean, he needed big guys to do fight scenes with Dwayne, but he didn't hire me.
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah, me and Mrs. Vamp were just watching that movie the other night too. I didn't realize it was shot in Vancouver.
Yeah, it was, and I really like Dwayne. I really like Neil. I wish I'd have gotten to work on that film. Anyway, next time.
No, absolutely. And also horror movies and comics go very, very hand in hand as well, and you were involved in Watchmen.
Yes, I got to be one of the motorcycle cops in the Kennedy assassination flashback, and I was also one of the cops that tackled the potato sack head, or whatever the guy's name was. And when the cigar guy punched through the wall, the fist that came through the wall, that was me.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Just Hulk smash.
Yeah. Only took 17 takes.
Surprised you man, I feel like I wouldn't have a fist left after 17 takes.
Well, it was styrofoam.
Oh, no, of course. It's just so
would
much.
have killed an ordinary man.
Yeah, but not Brad Larry.
No, sir.
Absolutely.
No, sir.
Devil, my friend.
I mean, yeah, talking about, you know, when we go back to the Halloween and stuff like that, what are your feelings? I mean, obviously, you know, you're in that, and we love it. We're a Halloween fan, but with people sometimes going back to talk about, you know, maybe not being the greatest not Michael Myers, but the greatest Halloween movie, but still being able to say that you've done a Michael Myers film. What's your feeling with working with some of these actors, working with Jamie Lee, working with Busta Rhymes? What do you say about saying, hey, I don't care what the movie looks like or how you feel about it, I got to do something that I felt passionate about doing?
Well, I'm very proud that I was in the original series of films.
Yeah.
And discounting 3, of course. And I know that people did not like the film when it first came out for a myriad of reasons. But today, all these little kids that saw Resurrection as their first Halloween in the theater have grown up. They're coming to conventions. And I hear far more often that it's my favorite Halloween. You're my favorite Michael. I hear that a lot more than people disparaging. I mean, just recently I saw an advertisement for a new figure that was going to, quite possibly the worst sequel to Halloween ever, comes out with a new figure, something to that effect. But you know what? That opinion is going by the wayside.
Yeah.
Dick Warlock, who I've called Uncle Dick since I met him back in 2003, he actually said in an interview that he thought I was the best Michael Myers ever because of what I did with my eyes. I wanted Michael's eyes to look dead like a shark's.
Yeah.
Because I liken him as a land shark. You know, sharks swim and kill. He walks and kills. So whenever we had a medium or a close-up shot, I would cross my eyes and try to take the focus out of them. And somehow he noticed that. And, you know, I mean, I don't agree with him because I think, like, because Nick Castle is Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Bottom line. End of story.
Yeah, exactly.
But and Dick is my second favorite Michael. But in answer to your question, I'm just really proud that I got to be part of the original eight.
Yeah. Real quick, Devil, because that's actually really cool to hear, though, that they are putting out these figures and these things for Halloween Resurrection. Because one of the things that myself, Devil, and Mrs. Vamp notice a lot when we go out is this explosion in Halloween 2, like, memorabilia and merchandise with the bleeding eyes, as opposed to, like, you know, Halloween or, you know, stuff involving, you know, Jamie, who of course we all love Danielle. But there has been such an explosion in the Halloween 2 specific merchandise that it's pretty cool to hear that they're now adding in things like Halloween Resurrection. Like you've got the masks with the tag on them right here, you know, for your movie.
Well, Nico, these guys have made they're coming out with a Resurrection figure next year, apparently. Right now, this year they're doing H2O. Resurrection's supposedly coming out next year. But getting back to number 2, you know, when you go to these conventions, I don't know whose line is longer, Nick's or Dick's, because people love Dick Warlock. Like I said, it's of any genre, it's probably the best sequel. If it wasn't for the first Halloween, number 2 could easily have been the original film.
Sure.
Yeah.
People would still been crazy about it, you know.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing too about the kind of like what happened to Halloween 3, of which Devil and I are both big fans of that movie. And then again, now it's much more common knowledge, but like you kind of had to be in the know back then to understand that it was originally planned to be 5 different movies, an anthology series, but the sudden success of the first one is what spawned the sequel to Halloween 2, and Halloween 3 was never going to have Michael, even though they put him on the TV, which won me a playful bet with my wife. And because
Dick Warlock was in Halloween 3 too.
Yeah, that he was. Yeah,
Was he?
Yeah, he was the villain.
Yeah, he was the movie.
Okay, if you guys are fans of Halloween 3, how many of you read Tommy Lee Wallace's book?
I have it.
Yep.
Do you have it?
Yep.
Is it good?
Yeah.
I want to buy it, but it's $80 on Amazon.
My girlfriend got it for me for Christmas.
I'm going to bring it
Halloween
to.
3
Did
guys.
she? Oh, God bless her.
Yep.
Because I'm getting a copy for Halloween 50.
Oh,
I want Tommy to sign that when I see him next. I don't know if there's a hard. Is there a hardcover?
I'm not sure. I have the soft. I have the soft one.
Yeah.
We're
I want
both
to read it.
We're
I'm
both
curious.
hardcover fans too.
Oh, yeah. If you're going to keep something as a keepsake and a souvenir, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh no, I want to get the book for sure.
Absolutely. Devil? We're doing good?
Well, I mean, anything else that you can talk about with that if you're working on in 2025 or 2026 that you can, other than this NDA movie.
Yeah, this popular. We've been hearing a lot about this popular movie called NDA that everybody seems to be
I
starring.
don't have a clue what you're talking about.
No, it's a riff on the non-disclosure agreement.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay,
any-
gotcha,
everybody's
gotcha.
in
Oh,
those
gotcha.
movies.
Okay. Yeah, no, I have a friend that is a writer and a producer. She's writing a vertical right now. These 15, 20-minute films, but she wants me to be in it. So I got to talk to her when I get home. But yeah, no, I'm just the convention world is my life now. Until I get myself back into shape, and that may or may not happen. Because right now my hips and my back are in really bad shape, and it's really hard to get motivated to go for a walk. Sure. I'm going to try and go swimming when I get home, but even riding my bicycle to the pool hurts. Everything hurts, and you can't get proper pain meds anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be a wimp, but you get tired of being in pain all the time.
Yeah.
Especially when you're flying. That's the worst.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. For sure. But Brad, thank you so much, brother. It's an absolute pleasure to see you again, and thank you for giving us a little bit of your time.
Oh, listen, guys, I'm happy to do it. Happy to do it.
Absolutely.
God bless you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Fangs and Infernos. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting New Jersey HorrorCon, supporting Ryan, and again, supporting Brad. It's absolutely fantastic. He's a member of the family. We love him to death. But again, he's Devil, I'm Vampire, but more importantly than that, he is Brad Lurie. We will see you guys real soon. Take care. Be good. We're signing off from New Jersey HorrorCon. Horns up.
Guys. God bless.
Fangs out. All right there, Fangs and Infernos. As always, we have such a great time and are very, very appreciative of everything that our cons, especially our New Jersey HorrorCon family, likes to bring us, as well as what our friends and Fangs and family, who are also here, love to steer our way. And a shout out to our friend Nick, our friends at the Forest Hills, as they have steered us into our newest friend. Lydia Manson is hanging out with us. First and foremost, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, so we're really, really stoked that you were down for the cause and we're interested in our little show to talk about some fun stuff. So why don't you introduce everybody to Hell's Gate and what you've got going on here?
So my name is Lydia Manson, and I am the co-writer, co-director, producer, and actress in Hell's Gate, the movie. We plan on filming at the end of May, early June 2026. Right now, we're still going strong with our Indiegogo campaign, so you can pre-order your DVD, pre-order your Blu-ray, help feed the crew, help lodge the crew. Independent films are only made off the backs of our supporters, and we appreciate it so much. Hell's Gate is the story of a cult leader who gives psychedelic drugs to his members, not really sure where or who their true intentions lie and what they're going to do when this is given to them, and they go out and they commit these crimes. And to me, that is more terrifying than, you know, a monster that I know is only made for TV, because being someone that struggles with mental health myself, like, I'm always looking to belong somewhere. And I think when we talk about films with cults, like, yes, we automatically think of Charles Manson, but there's been so many more out there. And I just want to show that the truly terrifying thing is not getting to know the people around you and getting to know their struggles, because those struggles can lead to even worse things than, I think, a slasher movie, because it becomes reality at that point, and that is truly terrifying.
That was actually the direction I was going to go next in this, with you writing and putting together this movie. Why cults as opposed to slashers? Which, don't get me wrong, we love slashers. We're entertained by all of that kind of stuff, but and we still have plenty of gore, but the market is heavily saturated with slashers. Was that something you took into consideration, writing a film that steered away from the norm when it comes to new horror indie films into something that's a little bit more potentially like triggering to, you know, people, especially that you want to bring mental health awareness as a factor?
Well, I wanted, what are the big things we see about, the big complaints you see about independent films? There's not enough character development. There's not a full storyline. People are getting killed left and right, and it's awesome to watch those things. But what if we put more reason behind those things? Like, what if I made those reasons closer to the people that are watching it? So the people that have lost a family member to an overdose and want to get that person that got them addicted to drugs in the first place. That's somebody's inner Hell's Gate. Yeah. And that's what I want to show, is that everybody has something, whether they realize it or not. It's buried deep inside there. And we put so many different scenarios. It is, you know, trigger warning. We deal with sexual abuse, especially with children, and that is in our storyline. We deal with mental health. We deal with heartbreak. We deal with just acceptance. And I thought that those are things that an audience could truly relate to, instead of just, oh my God, I love the way his head just got cut off, because we do always love the way a head gets cut off.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, absolutely. Devil, take it away, my friend.
Especially with, you know, like you said, with it being sort of like that culty, more true crime.
There's a huge fandom in true crime. I mean, if you look at Netflix alone, the amount of true crime shows, documentaries, the new Monster coming out about, you know, Ed Gein. Look how good who knew those first two seasons were going to take off like they did. And Mindhunter, now they're thinking about bringing it back as 2-3 hour movies because people were so invested in it. So many people are invested in true crime, and true crime is surrounding us everywhere. We are the true crime. And why not make a movie for that?
Between Netflix and Tubi, me and Mrs. Vamp live off of the true crime stuff.
And also, like, with that true crime you were talking about, with the mental awareness and stuff like that, that's the one thing about cults. Like you said, Charles Manson. But you can also do, like, other stuff, like very religious cults, like with Scientology and all that stuff like that. It's preying on people who are very weak-minded.
And that's, you know, it's the charisma of these. And I don't want to keep going back to Manson, because I don't want people to think the film is about Manson. We're not glorifying Manson. But I do truly believe that those people made those choices to commit those crimes on their own. And that's what Hell's Gate is also going to show, that we all have that thing inside of us that we are responsible for, nobody else. But, you know, these leaders are almost like mirrors. They're showing us the person that we want to see. If I'm struggling because I didn't grow up with a father, I'm going to be looking for that father figure. That's who he's going to appear to be to me. You know, if you're struggling with addiction, he's going to be the person that's already gotten through that and showing you that you can make it to the other side. And how many people do you know that are like that?
Exactly.
And now with social media the way it is, you could be forming cults all around simply from your phone.
Just Kool-Aid for everyone.
And then also, like you said, especially tackling, you know, like you said, some of the subjects you're talking about, just the awareness of that. That's why I like it, because that's the problem with, especially with you know, all the mental issues and things like that, with people with depression and, you know, the suicide rate and all that kind of stuff. People are afraid to talk about those subjects, which people who have those problems in their life are afraid that they can't talk to anybody. And I like to see, like, people that are willing to put that in their music or put that in their art, put that in their movies, that saying, hey, we all have this, it's okay if you feel this way. There is somebody to talk to. Yes, there are people that will take advantage of you, so you have to be careful of who you talk to, because there's going to be that cult leader or that person that's going to take advantage of you that way, but there's also people who are willing to help you that aren't going to take advantage of you as well.
Yes, like 988, you can call or text that number if you are ever struggling, and that's something, a resource people don't realize. A simple call or text message if you can't find your voice. I know days I'm so depressed I can't even fathom talking, but I can send a text that says I'm struggling to 988 and they'll get back to me.
Yeah.
So I want to put that out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Besides what you're doing right now with Hell's Gate and everything that you're trying to put out for that, talk a little bit about some of your other passion projects that you do, when you're not focusing on the movie.
Well, I like to help other indie filmmakers, so I always try to promote their things too, because we're a team, and at the end of the day, if we don't have each other's backs, who will? But I was lucky enough to be involved with a film called The Lady of the Castle de la Mort. So if you are a fan of Young Frankenstein and Frankenstein, we'll cover all bases. This is an homage to that. It was shot in black and white. It's shot in the old ratio. It's got the comedy.
Devil and I are Mel Brooks people.
Oh, it is. It was so much fun, and the director Tyler Chapman on that was absolutely amazing. Now I have 2 more films that he cast me in because the way I did Lady of Castle de la Mort. So I'm super excited. In November, I'm going to be going down to Texas, and I have my first lead role in a film, and it's called The Toy Maker. And actually, the lead for Hell's Gate, Otis B. Dreads, he's actually my co-star in A Toy Maker.
Oh, nice.
So we've been able to keep our bond going, and he's a big supporter of mental health as well. We do a podcast called Dread the Stigma, where we try to break the stigma about mental health and get people to see that don't judge your bad days by somebody's highlight reel that you see on Instagram or Facebook. Like, we are all struggling, and as long as we talk about it more, there shouldn't be a stigma.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the Fangs and Infernos, you guys aren't going to be able to see this because it's off of camera, but you have portion of the movie playing here for anybody that walks by the table to check it out. While you're still doing what you can do with the Indiegogo campaign and everything there, is the movie filmed to a certain degree and completed, or is the video that the Fangs and Infernos get to see if they were coming to New Jersey HorrorCon like a portion of what's been filmed so far to let people know about the movie?
So the proof of concept we have playing at the table is just a condensed version of what the film will be. So we want to show people this is the production value we can bring to you. This is the storyline we're showing you, and help us. It's just a way to show you this is what your support will get to in an hour and a half instead of 5 minutes.
Yeah,
for sure. Absolutely. Devil, let's kick it over to you.
And that's the cool thing about those indie, I always, implore people to support the local filmmakers, the Indiegogo, because you got to realize, everybody's been talking about it, Terrifier franchise.
Yes.
Those guys are the next big thing in horror now, where people are like, oh shit, horror can be not hardcore mainstream, can still be indie, and you never know what the next movie's gonna be, next gonna blow up. So it's always nice to hey, if this passion project of this person sounds interesting, or this sounds put your name on that, because it's you could help the next person to become that next Terrifier, or that next huge movie that you never know. Yes, horror movies are always going to be big, and somewhat pushed away as far as big media and stuff like that, because Hollywood's always going to be
we're the redheaded stepchild of filmmaking.
I mean, like I said, it took how many years for The Substance, we talk about that, with it finally getting acolytes and in the Academy Awards and being that, and it's the Oscars and all that kind of stuff like that. It's crazy. So talk about because like you said, when we talk about in the music industry, it's very cutthroat, but it always seems like, as much as we talk to independent people, you guys are always really cool with everybody. You're about, yes, you want to promote your film and you want to help your film, but you're not against helping somebody else's film too.
I think the minute that you stop supporting other artists, it's the minute that you're not an artist anymore. I feel like you've kind of sold out at that point, but that's my personal opinion. Everybody is free to think how they are. I think if the drama would stop, between people fighting, we could be able to create like so many more movies and so many more things for people to enjoy. And I think that would be better for the horror in general. I mean, one of my biggest influences for Hell's Gate is Silence of the Lambs, which was released, 1991 not on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Nobody thought that movie was going to do anything, and it took the Pig 5 at the Oscars.
Yeah.
So it can do it. You just have to know how to do it the right way. And,
Yeah.
The Exorcist has an Oscar on its
Yes.
shelf.
I mean, look at whatever happened to Baby Jane.
Yep.
And you're dealing with two older actresses that had made, like this life for themselves, and now nobody was casting them anymore.
Yeah.
And they went and did whatever happened to Baby Jane, and it was like suddenly now horror was cool again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just to see certain things like that is just amazing. Like nobody believed in Psycho
Nope.
Yeah.
when that was made.
Yeah. Anthony Hopkins. Everyone's
they-
like, what?
He refinanced his house to make that movie.
Yeah.
Yep. But then the thing I also loved though was about the execution of when it was done and out is the fact that they treated it like a Broadway play.
Oh,
The doors were locked. You were not let in, even if I don't know if they did trailers or previews back then, but if
His
you
trailer for
still
Psycho
weren't let in.
was him walking through the Psycho house. He did not
Yeah.
show anything from the film.
Mhm.
He just showed you himself walking through the Psycho house, and that was his promotion.
Oh,
And I am taking marketing ideas from Psycho and seeing if could we pull that off in
Yeah.
2025.
And he was already at that time was already a
I know.
well-known director. People still didn't want to believe because they at that time was when horror had that genre for a little while, but then it kind of died again.
Yeah.
And that's what I say. Even with that, like we have the Terrifier, but I always look back at like Blair Witch. I mean, look, that's the
Yes.
biggest probably
Footage, yes.
independent film ever. Almost all their budget went to them putting that doc out there that people think that it was real.
yeah.
And then blew up, and that's what kind of brought back that indie love and stuff like that. For
Like
horror.
Cannibal Holocaust. That guy was going to go to jail for life because they were so convinced
Yep.
that his cast were dead and eaten that
They had to
in the
bring him to- they had to
courthouse
bring the
they
courthouse.
had to bring him in to be like, see, not dead, alive, case dismissed.
It's amazing just the timeline of horror. And,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
just like the different sections. It's just amazing. It's something every generation has their own immediate thing you think of when you think of horror.
Yeah.
So
It's just- especially something like like your pet film, Hellgate, where it's like it's fresh to see like newer ideas that you might be influenced by, like you said, Silence of the Lambs or Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects and this kind of stuff, but you're still doing something that's unfortunately, like with the world now, it's all about regurgitating the same shit over and over again when it comes to Hollywood. It's nice to see something that it's a topic that's been done, but it's in a new, different, fresh way.
Absolutely, for sure. And before we let you go, Lydia, because we want you to be able to mingle and meet and promote and do all that
It's been
fun
so great
stuff.
talking with
We
you.
really, really appreciate some of your time. It's been absolutely
Oh, yeah.
wonderful to have you on the show, and thank you again for your hospitality and talking to us. But please let everybody know one more time where Hell's Gate can be found.
So you can go on Instagram and it's just Hell's Gate the Movie. And then on Facebook, Hell's Gate the Movie Facebook group. And, hashtag join the cult.
And there's an Indiegogo there, Fangs and Inferno. So anybody who really wants to, get out and support the movie financially, we would love nothing more than you guys to consider that. But of course, keep in mind things like shares, and follows do have their place.
Yep.
So again, thank you so much, Lydia. We really, really appreciate it. And the biggest thing to myself and Devil is that no matter what, in any way, shape, or form, you felt that this interview can benefit Hell's Gate in any way.
Honestly, meeting you two has benefited my entire weekend already. So the interview is just the icing on the cake for me.
Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to doing it again
I'm
sometime.
super excited. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Thank you so much, Fangs and Infernos. We appreciate you guys. Again, as always, make sure you're showing a lot of love to Hell's Gate, the movie, and hashtag join the cult. I'm Vampire, he's Devil, but more importantly than that, she is Lydia Manson. Thank you guys so much, and we'll be back soon. Horns up. Fangs out.